Forget about it.
Alrighty, guys, here we are, Jigs and Bigs, for another, what we got, Tuesday morning. It's a good show for you. This show right here, we got to come out right out of the gate and let you guys know a couple of things. First off, in this episode, very unique situation happening. This episode is being powered 100% by Naqua. Yeah, we recorded this live on location, and we're using the Naqua Power Pack to power our digital audio recorder so that we can get all this stuff done. We have some great stuff to talk about this week. The entire week, it's been winding down to this weekend here that we just wrapped up. It's a Trifecta weekend. Big weekend on the Salt for those with kayaks looking to compete, and it all comes down to the end here. We're recording live at the reception as things are getting kicked off, so we're going to be talking a lot about Trifecta, a lot about what's been going on. We got a great Just the Tip for you this week. We're going to talk about when you're fishing with a buddy. How can you best optimize your effectiveness when you have the luxury of having a partner when you're on the water and getting on some fish and making it all sort of happen. So we're going to cover that for you. We've got a little bit of fuck this guy for you and a whole bunch of great stuff going on. And an amazing interview this week. We've got Paul Roberts from the Bass and Brews podcast. He just got brought on as co-host with Alex, Swamp Rat Fishing. So there's some amazing stuff going on for you guys. You're not going to want to miss out. It's a great interview. It's a doozy. It's actually the most... It's probably one of the longest interviews we've done, but it was fantastic. So you're not going to want to miss it, guys. We will see you in a bit. We'll go ahead and get yourself ready for this whole show, and we'll see you guys right after this, all right? Alrighty, guys, how you doing, everybody? Hope you're having a good one. It's Jigs and Bigs here. I got Bobby Roast Beef. I got Sean the Fisherman, and things may sound a little bit different to you. That's mainly because we're not in our regular location where we record our episodes. We're live on location right now at the. This is the end of the road for the Trifecta tournament. You know that we've been talking a lot over the last couple of months really about Trifecta. That's the kayak saltwater tournament that happened right in the Niantic River, and it's been pretty unbelievable. Lots of action. Sean has been out on the water. I think fishing until I think the very ends of his sanity, really, if we're being completely honest here. Had a conversation with him yesterday that was interesting. He was in a different sort of mind space, I think, altogether. But we have a good one for you guys. We're going to talk about what's been going on in this tournament. We're going to talk about some of the stuff where we are right now. So we're in the process of setting up for the end of tournament banquet, the reception at the very end. And I think we're going to have a great one here. There's some amazing raffle prizes, all kinds of good stuff going on. We've got things all sort of coming together. So we're going to have ourselves a good time. Sean, how are you, buddy?
I've regained my sanity because I slept last night.
That's good. That's good. You got some good hours in, and that's definitely helpful. You definitely sound like a whole other guy. Yesterday was a little like, is he all right? I was in the car with Paul and with my oldest daughter, Chloe, and we were on the ride back up, and Chloe was even like, Sean doesn't sound like himself.
Well, I'll just jump right into the recap then on my end. What happened was with the Trifecta, those are the anglers that participated saw me on Friday. I came down Friday to Three Bells to help out with the captain's bag handout. So I was out in the sun for 6 hours all day.
Good stuff.
Got home, and my kayak was still in pieces because I drove home Wednesday. I got home Wednesday from Minnesota.
Yep.
Thursday was laundry, shopping, do this, do that. So all my unloading, etc. All that was done by Wednesday. It was done on Thursday. So Friday I got up.
Yep.
And got down to Three Bells, helped out there, got everybody their stuff, and then got home through some traffic a little later than I wanted, had some dinner, prepped my kayak for the salt.
Yep.
Got to bed at 10. That's not bad, right?
10 o'clock's not too bad.
No, it's really bad because Nelson and I were meeting at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So I probably got to sleep at 10:30. Got about 2.5 to 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Nelson and I met up. He was actually guiding. So we had myself and Sarah Pendergrast, who is friends of friends, acquaintances. This whole kayak tournament fishing group up here, we all kind of know each other. We all kind of hang out. And if somebody travels to another group or there's another opportunity, generally they're in good hands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's a big network, and it's all friendly folks.
Yeah. So Sarah's husband was fishing the EKF event in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. She apparently was bored off of her skull and came down to Three Bells and for 3 days and had a good time. And Derek from Three Bells had called me up and said, "Hey, Sean, I know you don't know shit about saltwater fishing. Do you want to get together with Sarah, who also doesn't know shit about saltwater fishing, just for safety purposes?" And I said, "That sounds like a fantastic idea. We're going to win."
This was primarily, I think, really more of like a challenge, if you will, a double dare for Nelson, right?
Oh, yeah. Nelson stepped his game up. Nelson, on his insane behalf, was camping with his family in Vermont the entire week, drove down from Vermont to his house in Massachusetts, crashed there the night, re-prepped his boat for saltwater, met me at 2 o'clock at the Cumberland Farms to get some ice. We drove down. We met Sarah, who was, prepared to take another human's life in a parking lot because she was being stalked by some freak in a station wagon.
Welcome to New England.
At 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we all went out, and the fog. That was the first thing that happened. Was the fog rolled in, and we had some major issues seeing each other.
Yeah, I believe it.
And right here with the tournament, we were out at we got on the water at, I think 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So it was pitch black.
Yeah.
It's ocean. I've never been on the ocean. Sarah's never been on the ocean in kayaks. Nelson's at home. He's going nuts. He's shouting instructions. Sean, try this. Sarah, try this. Whatever. We're having a blast with it. And Nelson actually had some night lures for us that were possibly ready to entice some stripers, and we didn't get any. So when the daylight started coming on through the clouds, through the fog, I had switched to a bucktail jig, which both Derek and Nelson highly recommended for saltwater fishing for multi-species. So I was the first on my own to hook up. Now I say on my own. Derek and Nelson put us in the spots and put lures in our hands, and then from there I did Sean the Fisherman things.
Exactly.
And
you perform Seanisms on the water.
There was a lot of swearing. There was some horrible things said. There were some partiers. We had some STF stories that were just. I didn't even tell you about this. Yeah.
Oh, this is good.
Yes. So, well, I was the first to hook up, man. I hooked into my first fluke. Never caught a fluke before. My second fish was a sea robin. I have caught sea robins before. If anybody doesn't know what a sea robin is, go ahead and Wikipedia that. They're cute. They're really gross-looking fish. And I was
going to say, unless I'm thinking of the wrong species, I think they're pretty nightmare fuelish.
Yeah, they're ugly, but they're small. They're not big.
Sweet.
And then let me think. I think I was the only person to have any fish on the board for a while between the three of us. And then at some point, Sarah hooked into a sea robin, and it was like the 4th of July, New Year's, everybody's birthday.
All wrapped up
dude,
into
she was
one.
so
Awesome.
fired up. We lost her for a little bit. She drifted away, making phone calls. I caught a fish. It was great. It was phenomenal.
The ocean.
So she had a blast with that. And then I think Nelson, by the end of the day, figured it out. Because he's got the most experience on the salt. Yeah. He ended up with the largest of the sea robins. And as we're prepping for the banquet right now, Derek's standing in front of us. Derek, let me reach out to you real quick. Did anybody top Nelson's magnificent 17-inch sea robin?
17 and a quarter, baby.
17 and a quarter.
Sean is prepared with an acceptance speech for Nelson's award on his behalf.
Oh, yeah. Nelson is not here to his own detriment in that aspect. So we fished until we got a call or a message through Fishing Chaos from Derek and Lauren, who showed up at the launch with their new coffee brands ready to go.
Awesome.
The fog was now deadly enough that there were some wreck boats and there were some motor boats out there that were really, I would say, potentially dangerous. They weren't. They were dangerous. There were a couple that passed within 30 or 40 feet of us, and we didn't see them until they were 30 or 40 feet from us.
And some of these boats, the size of that boat, that 30 or 40 feet is ridiculously close for the effect it can have on you as a small vessel.
Surprisingly, that's what I thought up until yesterday, and then Nelson explained something to us.
Oh, really?
It's actually the smaller vessels you have to watch out for because the larger vessels have radar. And they can see through the fog, and they can see a kayaker and avoid it.
Oh,
it's the smaller guys.
I see what you're saying.
Guys in like little 15, 20-foot V-hulls that might kill us. So we got back. We had some coffee. We waited the fog out. We went back out. Nelson, again, figured it out.
Would you say that you lifted the fog in two ways?
Yeah. Well, no, one way because the fog was settling in, and the other because I was now getting very sleep deprived.
Oh, that's true. That's
and
true.
we finished the day out. I ended up with 2 robins and 2 fluke. Nelson caught a handful of each, and the biggest sea robin to date. You know, we're waiting for the banquet to start, and we just got confirmation that thing's still standing. And Sarah ended up with. Sarah, what'd you get? She got 1 and 1. She's standing actually right next to us, helping out with the display setup, and she got 1 and 1, which she was so psyched when that fluke came in. It was like birthday present when the sea robin hit and when the fluke hit. Dude, it was Christmas. There was more than one present there. It was great. So she had a blast. We all had a great time.
So awesome.
I got back to 3 Bells, and who's lurking about 3 Bells when I get back there? But Joe from Old Glory,
of course,
who's now gone from big boat guy since he's had some big boat issues to Mr. Kayak. So we've
Captain
been
Kayak, if
Captain
you will.
Kayak. We've been having a little fun with that in our little circle here, and he was exploring the market possibly for another boat for his wife. So
that's awesome. Because Meg was with him, right? And they were kind of poking around.
They were, and every time he said, "Well, I think we should look at this one," she made a face. So I don't know how much it's for her or him, but we'll find out. We'll find out when either Meg has a kayak or Joe has 2. We'll see where that goes. And then I was sleep deprived, and I apologize to anybody who was driving between Massachusetts and Connecticut yesterday because I was all over the road and a mess. I got home, napped for 2 hours, talked to you, and that's where comments were made about my sanity and well-being.
Yep.
And I went back to sleep after I talked to you for another 10 and a half hours after the 3-hour nap, and now I feel much better.
That's amazing, man.
There's my weekend.
That is truly amazing.
Yeah.
So that's good. You had a good one. I had an interesting week fishing-wise. I had gone out. I did something this week that was sort of like on my short, unspoken bucket list. I live in, and I'm going to blow up this spot because it's not a fishery. I wouldn't call this a fishery. One of my short-term goals, I live in Holyoke, Mass., which is very famous for its canal system that runs off the Connecticut River. And as somebody who lives in that area, I've had a lot of folklore stories come my way from people that I know and people that I know who know other people sharing experiences about fishing the canals. And for the longest time, I guess I sort of just expected that fishing the canal system was off limits. Like there was no, that it wasn't permitted. But there's no signage. There's nothing. And actually, recently, I actually just asked the mayor. I bumped into him at Walgreens of all places, and I said, Alex, this is a stupid question, but is it cool if I fish in the canal? Is it a problem? And he said, I'm not even sure. You'd have to check with HG&E. So I followed up, and nobody seems to know anything, so I just went with it. And I've probably fished there about 7 or 8 times in the last 2 to 3 years. It's not a place I'm going to go to regularly. But over the week, I hooked up with a smallmouth out of the river. Not out of the river, out of the canal.
Yeah.
And I did so, breaking it down and looking at the area. I was this would impress the shit out of me because not only this wasn't a luck catch. I was if I'm going to find what I'm looking to find, I'm going to find it right here. And I did. I couldn't believe it. It was freaking awesome.
And you and I had talked about those canals.
Yep.
And we might even have said something on the show about it.
I think so.
I had heard folklore in years past of those canals being drained, and you would figure with these gross industrial canals, catfish, carp, a
lot of bottom feeders and stuff.
Maybe a bowfin getting in there or something. But my story I had heard was that they had been drained and nothing was found in there but rainbow trout. So
what the interesting thing is that they get drained, I want to say 2 to 4 times a year, depending. It's usually for maintenance, things like that. People oftentimes will discard shopping carts or whatever, large items in these things. So you'll see them empty periodically throughout the year. That's what makes, I think, fishing them such a challenge, is because you got to deal with the water levels. The fish need to be able to get in there. The rain and the higher levels of water in the river, I think, kind of played a part. And not only that, but you got to track them down within the canal system, of which there are 3 separate canals. And each one, from what I've seen, behaves a little bit differently than the others. You have current in other ones that's much stronger, earlier on in the system. It's really interesting the way the whole system sort of works out. It's really, from an industrial standpoint, it's an ingenious sort of way to make things happen, especially when you're relying on boats to move everything. And get things around. So it was really, really kind of interesting. But I was blown away with that. So that was on there. Sadly, I did not get to enter this smallmouth in the Jigs and Bigs tournament because I was not in the believing state of mind to bring my catch board. This was on my way to work. I had to drop off some dry cleaning for a job later in the week, so I did that, had a couple hours to kill. It was just like, I don't think I'm going to get on any fish. I never brought my board with me. And, I managed to hook up. It would have been nice if I would have had my catch board, but c'est la vie. And then the rest of the week was pretty...
Whoa. You're leaving out a very important detail that you passed on to a few of us that was vile, disgusting, and perfect for our listeners.
Oh, are you speaking of the masturbating crackhead?
Yes, tell us about...
the masturbating crackhead.
Tell us about your new friend.
So apparently when I hook into this fish, I do the Bobby roast beef isms that I do all the time, and I'm in a big place. There's not a lot of people around at all. So I'm kind of jumping up and down. I'm like, yes, and I'm out of my mind with excitement because I've actually managed to land this fish in this random of a location in such an urban setting. And I'm, jumping up and down, and I'm like, yes, I can't believe this. Taking pictures, get the, mark it in Angler so I can, keep track of it. And I go and I release the fish. Well, apparently somebody was within earshot of me who got a little bit more excited than even I over my catch. And there was some random homeless guy who was making... very lewd
the word you're searching for is masturbatory.
Yeah, we'll say masturbatory. I'm not saying I could see anything. He was far enough away for that, but the soundtrack alone was enough to make you wonder. And so I made a comment to Wild Bill, actually, and he suggested that what we could do is do an urban fishing challenge. He and I go out to a spot and go and hit it hard and and do something. He even said, he's like, we'll make it interesting. He's like, loser smokes crack. And I said, okay, I'm down.
I would think there should be bonus points involved for
crack?
No, for finding masturbatory homeless people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is now any of our listeners that are into the show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The idea of a masturbating homeless person is hilarious because that's based on an episode. I got to get you into this show. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. One thing I do want to mention before I get to my next segment in my week, which was fantastic, is today's episode that you're hearing right now is 100% powered by Naqua, guys. Last week we had Billy and Heidi from Naqua on, Naqua Adventure Gear, and they were so kind after our interview to send us, Sean and myself, a little care package. They sent a lanyard with a phone, waterproof pocket for your phone. They sent us these amazing remote batteries that are 10,000 milliamp hours. These are pretty strong little batteries, and so we've got one of those charged up, and I'm running our recorder off of that right now, and we're doing our episode, which is kind of awesome. I'm kind of blown away. So thank you to them. They're powering this episode, and we're very, very excited about that. Back to my story. So I had a wedding to do on Friday, which is nice because I feel like my wedding chops are back up to speed, starting to get some confidence with that. Had a great time, but I was exhausted. It was 92 degrees while I was setting up for this wedding, outdoor ceremony and all. And it was brutal. And my goal was to leave the wedding, and drop off all my gear, and then grab my fishing gear. And I pulled an audible and said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delay tomorrow's start because I was actually traveling to Rhode Island. So I hit up a couple of my favorite Rhode Islanders, Todd Grubb and Becca, and I asked them if they were available to get out and catch some fish. And Becca had plans. She was not available. And Todd was working until about like mid-afternoon. And he's like, if I am off the water in enough time, like I'll hit you up. He's like, I've been considering going and fishing this one spot. So he gave me a place to go check out, and I ran it by Paul to see if he wanted to join me. So what we did is we left about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that, after I had dropped off all my equipment from the wedding, loaded up with my fishing gear, and we headed out east, and we stopped off at Old Glory nice and early, geared up, got a couple of things I've been wanting to try out, some different style baits. And then we headed down to Rhode Island. Now, the reason why we're going to Rhode Island is because my daughter has been on vacation for the last week with her friend's family. And I needed to go and pick her up. They're staying there for another week. She took the week off work so she could go for a week. And I said, I'm going to just make a day of it. We're going to go and fish in Rhode Island and make it happen. So we get out there. We're doing some fishing, having a good time. And we got on them. They were like in a finesse sort of presentation. I think I caught 3 all day that were on weightless flukes. And what's funny is the week prior, the Saturday previous, it was the same situation. That's the only thing I could get them to bite. But with that said, I got a little bit more size. I was catching fish that were about 2 inches larger down here. So I was totally in, completely in for this. Very, very happy with the turnout. But anything that we threw got bumps. Like they were active. They were active. They were kind of doing what they were looking to eat. But we had storms. It was crazy. 2 things before I wrapped this weekend. It was a whole lot of fun. We had a great time. I got 2 restaurant reviews for this week.
Well, before you get into those restaurant reviews,
let's do it.
And I got to thank Lauren of 3 Bells.
Yeah.
Everyone hears I'm chewing on something. She got me. I'm choking on it too. She got me.
You're choking
some little
on
treats
heavenly hunks
with stuff that I can eat because I have some obviously eating restrictions. I got some heavenly hunks going on here.
you got a mouthful of heavenly hunk.
Never had a heavenly hunk in my mouth, and it's great.
There's no rim shot there. It's just straight applause for that.
So real quick, just to wrap up my fishing for the week.
Yeah.
I did finish up in Minnesota. The last day I went out, the last actually 2 days, I took my boat and went over to the pond across, or the lake, it was a lake, across town from where we're stationed, my military, where we were staying with my in-laws. And I pulled the boat out of their lake, put it in my truck, and drove over there to this other lake.
Yep.
And I was very successful with northern pike for the NE5. So I stocked that NE5 in our tournament with northern pike. They were all, I think the smallest ones I got is like 22 or 23, right? I think it's like 23, 24, 25. I got a 30.
That's right, because you kept sizing up for a good portion there. Yeah.
So, I had to. It was all I could do. The bowfin wouldn't bite.
Yep.
I couldn't get them going. I could not dig up a smallmouth, so I just had to focus on what the best payoff and hope that, that in the next couple of weeks for that tournament, I can get some smallmouth on the board. But I'll review that more in a little bit. Talk to me about restaurants, my friend.
So we had some weather where we were in Rhode Island. We got some pretty heavy thunderstorms, actually. So it got to be about like 1 p.m., and we had some thunder roll in, and I was like, look, man, my general rule. I was like, once I see lightning, I'm out. Like, that's it. We're going to take cover. I'm like, it can rain. And it can rain hard, and we're just going to fish through it. And hopefully they don't turn off from it, or come back to it. So what we decided to do was, because, we started to see a little bit of lightning, we're like, all right, let's go hit the road. We'll go find lunch. So we did a quick search on Yelp. I really didn't want to download the Yelp app, but it did me all right as far as finding me some great eats nearby. We had lunch at a restaurant called the Rogue Island Kitchen, and it's in Providence. We ate like kings over there. This is very like farm to table forward.
Yep.
Paul was feeling a couple of different items. To one item specifically, I ended up ordering. It was the fried chicken and a biscuit, and this was off their brunch menu. So what it was a house-made biscuit. And all the main ingredients are all locally sourced around New England. Various states. I think they get their beef from a farm in Maine, I believe, and. So basically it was this biscuit that they sliced in half, and they put a piece of fried chicken on there, which was fantastic. You get a couple of eggs on the other biscuit, and then they smother the whole thing in locally sourced turkey sausage gravy.
Oh,
dude! And it comes with home fries, which were dynamite, like absolutely out of this world. Paul had their farmhouse burger, which was just loaded, and his fries had they were like steak fries, like potato wedges.
Yeah.
And he's just like, these are freaking awesome. A great meal, had an unbelievable meal. We looked at the weather. We were checking back the radar to see how the storm was going, and it was just a small little pop-up storm that kind of sent us out. So we're like, we got about 2 hours left. Let's go and find another spot at that same area where we were, and we'll see if we can get on them. And I got on a couple more. So I had a total of 3. I entered the largest one, and I didn't size up in largemouth beyond that. So I'm on the board now for Jigs and Bigs tournament, which is nice. Really, really feels good to finally have that happening.
Perfect.
And then we went down to the coast to go pick up. We drove across the entire state of Rhode Island, so we blocked out about 40, 45 minutes of the day to do so. And we went and picked up Chloe. And then the second place that we ate at that day is called George's of Galilee. I asked the family that Chloe was staying with for a recommendation for decent seafood, and they're like, the direction you're going, go to George's of Galilee. So we went there. George's is also a brewery. They have their own beer. I had a beer while I was there. It was called a Whaler Rising, just like a light ale. Unbelievable. Had apparently the world famous George's clam cakes, which my eyes are much bigger than my stomach. So I had ordered the full dozen for the table, and I think we ate 6. And then we took the rest to go, and I knew that they weren't going to make it. Chloe had 2 more on the ride home.
Oh, nice.
In the back seat. She's like, these are good. So she was good. She was in the mood for sushi, and Chloe and I oftentimes what we'll do is I'll just tell her, like, pick whatever number of rolls, and we'll just split those. So she ordered that. I ordered the clam cakes and the fish taco appetizer, which was awesome. Fish tacos are great, and what was nice is they don't hide behind a fried piece of fish. This was a grilled, I'm not even sure, I want to say maybe it was flounder, maybe?
Ooh.
Yeah. And then Paul had their fish and chips, which he was absolutely gaga over, but he had the choice to go haddock or flounder, and he went flounder. I think you got to go flounder if you got the option.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to. So it was a great meal. We hit the road, got back home, and when I got home, actually, I had to bring the dogs out. So I brought Eleanor out first, and I brought her out the worst possible time of night because it wasn't like it was raining outside. It was like the sky was throwing water at me. Like Nolan Ryan was up there pitching water directly at me. And, I mean, I was pelted with raindrops, covered. She was soaked. Got her to finally go under a tree and do her business. Got her in the house, but man, it was interesting. Then got up, and here we are. That was my weekend.
Speaking of which, with the rain we got, I'm actually in process right now as we're sitting here at the table. We had a little bit of an issue because I don't think anybody, myself or Nelson, expected this amount of rainfall while I was gone in Minnesota.
No, not at all.
The Connecticut River is really flooded right now to the point where it's
to the point where smallmouth are getting in the Holyoke Canal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's,
that tells you something.
It's unsafe. So what we're doing right now for those MAKB Western folks that are fishing the tournament next weekend, we're actually going to be switching it up to a little bit of a change of pace, something I've wanted to do. We're going to see how this goes. It's going to be a Roadrunner event. You pick a number of ponds. You pick one pond out of the number that I have selected, and there's going to be limits. So it's first come, first serve. And we're going to do that instead. And we're just going to have a little fun with it. We'll talk more about that, after the event happens. Just so you know, whoever's listening to this and hasn't had a chance to either get an email from me or Nelson or through MAKB or Fishing Chaos, we are going to be changing the event from the Connecticut River to a little bit of a run and gun up in the mountains.
And that's exactly what it gets down to. We don't want anybody to be in a dangerous situation or anything. So this is all done with the well-being of the competitors in mind. So I think this is going to be pretty cool and kind of a big deal because this is the first event of its type for the Western Division.
Yep.
Very, very cool. Let's see. What else do we have to get to? I think we got all that down. As far as hot topics go, where are we?
We're at the banquet. We're waiting for the banquet to start. We're gonna probably have some more fun to talk about the banquet by next week.
Oh yeah.
But we're just waiting. The Trifecta was a blast. We're waiting for it to get going. It starts in about a half an hour, and I think that's that, man.
I think we're looking pretty good. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break before we get back with our next segment. We do have our regular format. We're just going to record it all right here. We'll be back, guys, after this short message from our good friends over at Old Glory Outdoors. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states, or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code Jigs and Bigs, and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan, "Start 'em young," to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code Jigs and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
I freaking love it, man. So this week's Just the Tip is a very, very, very unique one. I love fishing with other people, and I ask all of our guests about fishing with other people. We have guests that are competitive anglers. We have folks, and we've learned that people get out there and fish for a plethora of reasons. A plethora, essay?
A plethora. F-A.
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 It's a sweater.
It's a sweater. No, but it's true. People will fish as a team. Like, they'll get out together and go and fish. And this gets down to strategy. This is kind of, and maybe it's something that I don't think I've ever actually had a conversation with somebody I've been fishing with. But oftentimes when I am fishing, I'm trying to, and I'm fishing with a partner, I'm basically trying to play against what they're throwing. So, especially if this is new water and I don't know the situation. So I'll give you an example. If I'm fishing with somebody and they're throwing top water, I'm gonna fish further down in the column.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not gonna drag a jig slow or something like that, but I'm probably gonna be moving like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait so probably not a spinnerbait if it's me, or a lipless or a jerkbait or something along those lines to be hedging my bets. And based on the success of someone else, and this is kind of a question, but to our listeners, let us know when you're out and you're fishing with a buddy, and they're having success on a specific presentation. Do you gravitate toward that and like work together for the common goal of getting on fish, or is it more like, well, that's kind of working, I don't want to do the same thing, and kind of play off of it? But that's sort of like the cut and dry, easy version of the tip is more like consider widening your scope when you have the luxury of having multiple lines in the water at one time, because there's times where you're not able to fish with somebody else and use this type of a plan. So this way you're in a position where you're kind of what's the word that I'm looking for, eliminating non-producing presentations.
Yes.
Like you're like almost Sean, the way you explain your tackle. You're like, these aren't doing anything for me. They're dead weight.
Yep.
It's like if they're not hitting on top water when you were throwing that buzzbait, they're probably not going to hit when you're throwing the topper water, the whopper plopper or the frog either. But if they're hitting on a jerkbait or a drop shot, it's a different, Yeah,
the situation you're in when you're going into one of those is very, very, that's going to dictate what you do. So, like, if you're in a team bass boat tournament and you go to pre-fish,
yep,
and actually even during the tournament, you and your buddy, you and your teammate are going to be, for the pre-fishing particularly, where the way I used to do it was go out, like, hey, you're going to start on top, I'm going to start in the middle, I'm going to start with a rattling bait, you're going to start with something silent. Let's start eliminating things for Saturday, you know what I mean, or whatever day you're going out.
Yeah.
And when it comes to pre-fishing for kayak tournaments, if it's allowed and you're allowed to pre-fish with a partner, if there's no rule against it, go out and that partner can help you. If you're in the tournament and they're not, it's really a matter of comparing notes. What good does it do if you say, hey, I threw a spinnerbait all day. What'd you throw? I threw a spinnerbait all day. Neither of us caught anything. What have you done? You've both eliminated spinnerbaits. Why not one person throw a spinnerbait and one person throw a plastic worm?
Yep.
Then you can start saying, well, I use this color spinnerbait. I use this color, plastic worm. and they garnered. Excuse me, that chunk or whatever the hell I ate is killing me.
That heavenly hunk.
That heavenly hunk
is coming back at you.
Heavenly hunk thought I was into this little choking play, but I am not.
Yes. How do we work into choking porn during fucking just the tip segment? Well, actually, if there was a segment, if there was ever a segment to make that work.
You know what? Hold on. Let's make sure that hunk doesn't try
There
again.
you go. Take a sip. Jesus. I love this show. Oh, my goodness. We good?
So let's say your spinnerbait is of one color and the rubber worm is of the same color. You also haven't eliminated two colors. Try something different. So that's why if you're in a kayak tournament, like let's say I'm in a kayak tournament where I can pre-fish.
Yep.
And I call up Nelson and say, hey, you busy? I'm going to pre-fish this lake I've never fished. He says, okay, sure. We go out. I say, okay, I'm starting with, I don't know, some sort of search bait in this color. Mm-hmm. Could you do me a favor? Just not use a different color in what you're going to use. He'll be like, sure. Let me fire I don't know, name a color. Chartreuse. Senko. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Yeah, exactly. And then we go from there. And he's going to go his way. He might even send me a message saying, hey, what are you going to switch to? If you had any luck with this, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, pre-fishing's a different ball game too, because what I always play, or the game I always play when I pre-fish is, if I get one fish on a lure, that's a fish.
You want to get multiples.
You've heard me say numerous times, if you get two fish, that's a pattern. So if I get a second fish on something, I'm cutting that lure off. I'm not using it until the tournament because I know it's caught two fish.
Yep.
There's my tip. That's our tip, I guess.
I love that. No, I think it's a great tip for anybody to go and try and, you know, if you're effectively, if that's what you want to do is catch fish and you've got someone there that's able to work with you, work together so that way you're as the most efficient you could possibly be in that situation.
Now, do we have any tips on choking?
On choking? I don't know. Like, if they can cough, let them go. I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, there's just a tip for this week.
That got really dark fast. Can't get enough of Paul Roberts in this show. Not only did you just hear him then, but you're going to hear him in the interview shortly after this.
And I get to hear him again tomorrow night.
That's true.
I'm going to be guesting on the Bass and Brews podcast.
On Bass and Brews. Do you hear that, everybody? I do know the name of the of the podcast. It is Bass and Brews.
And I don't know what their topic and format is, but I'm going to go in there and make it my own because there's something that I've been hearing a little bit about from Swamp Rat Fishing about my culinary sensibilities.
Oh, yes, that's right.
We're gonna have I'm going to steer the conversation that way, I think.
It's going to be like Sean the Fisherman's very own diners, drives, and dives. You're taking them to Flavor Town?
Dude, Flavor Town, Pizza Town, Fried Town. We're going every town.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Exactly. So I have something for FTG this week.
Yeah, this is a doozy.
And I think it's becoming kind of a dead horse. We're beating the hell out of this dead horse.
Hey, I feel like this is one of those stories that's never going to fully ever go away.
Nope.
But, I mean, if nothing else, I feel like this platform, this podium, and talking about this specific guy, and I use air quotes because this could be women as well, but I feel like this guy... and why they need to be fucked so roundly.
Yeah, and we're gonna... Man, I'm gonna come at this from a different angle. I know everyone loves fuck this guy and burying people. There was literally too many to bury lately.
Yeah.
Like I can describe situations. I think, believe it or not, we will be getting into some of those situations in the near future. But right now, I want to come at this at a different angle.
Yep.
A lot of etiquette problems on the water lately.
Oh yeah.
A lot of etiquette. And a lot of fuck that guy. A lot of those guys out there to fuck, which is gross.
Yep.
Heavenly hunks, they're all out there.
Lots of heavenly hunks.
Lots of heavenly hunks out there. But I want to attack this from a more positive point. If you're out on the water and you see somebody fishing, stay 50 yards away from them.
Yeah.
That's good etiquette. If you're out on the water, somebody's got a line in the water, stay further away from them. Or, get this, most of us speak the same language. It's usually English. All right, it's not always. I get that. We're the melting pot.
Yep.
I get that. But you could wave if you do not speak English.
Yeah.
And somehow try to figure out where those lines are and if you're going to disturb somebody fishing.
Yep.
That does not mean wait till you get close, but try to, give somebody enough room. I'm seeing that more and more often where people are coming right up on other anglers.
Yeah.
When there's miles of room on the other side of an
Plenty,
angler. It just doesn't, it's a safety issue. It's, if you're going out to disturb somebody fishing and you're a dick, well, fuck that guy. But, the etiquette has been so bad lately. I just, I don't know what to say. So try to make a difference and just be aware of your surroundings. Nobody's going to get upset if you say, hey, man, where are you fishing? I don't want to screw with you. They're going to get upset if you come over their lines, disturb what they're doing,
That's
get
a big
too close, cause a safety issue. That's where the fuck this guy comes in. I mean, this is really a combination of just a tip and fuck this guy this week. Like,
pretty much.
I don't want to go full bore for a little while for a reason, and you'll find out in future episodes.
Fuck this guy with that tip.
Oh, as long as he's a heavenly hunk.
As long as he's a heavenly hunk.
Yeah. So you're going to hear more from this in the future. Our fuck this guy was kind of, different direction this week, but we'll get more into it.
I think that's it's room to grow, but we also want to make sure that you guys fully understand that if you have a situation that's ever on the water with a type of individual or a situation that reoccurs or something where you want to voice your opinion for the Fuck This Guy segment, you can do so. Just go to jigsandbigs.com. There's a big orange button right on the top of our screen, right on the top of our page. If you click that, you are able to leave a 1-minute voice recording that we will then utilize right here in the show. Drop it right in there, and we'll have you on the show, and you can talk about your situation, who or what guys need to be fucked and why, and explain the whole shebang. So that's what it's all about. It's there for you guys. Or I mean, if you don't want to record record yourself or be on the show in an audio form, shoot us a DM over at Instagram, email us, send us on our contact us page at jigsandbigs.com. It's definitely worth voicing your opinion.
I just want to make certain of this. Now, are you telling me that anybody with internet access can go to jigsandbigs.com and press that button and record a message if they have a fuck that guy story?
That's all it takes.
Even if they live up in the Berkshires?
Even if they actually, it's funny. I was recently talking with a cousin of mine who was driving right through the Berkshires, and he indeed did have the cell phone service out there, was able to make this happen.
Wow, even if your name rhymes with something like Let or Chet, you could leave a message, even if you're over there. Can those two things work together?
If your name's probably do that.
So like Chickabee Chet could leave one from
Chickabee Chet could 100% leave one.
Could Berkshire Brett?
If Berkshire Brett wanted to, he could.
We turned this segment pretty good on Berkshire Brett.
We really did. That was good. I like that.
Berkshire Brett's got a good one that everyone should want to hear.
He does, and it is a doozy. Yeah. It is a doozy. And the ones that we have had, I mean, the story that Brock shared was another great one about was it a goose that got maimed?
Yeah, running over the goose, they had to kill
it. So like there's some interesting stuff out there, and everybody's got an opinion. There in your adventures, somebody has come across your way, and you're just like, you know what? Fuck that guy.
And not only do we want to hear about it, but our listeners want to hear about it.
Yeah, the world wants to hear about it.
Yep.
I think, is there anything else to cover so far in this segment? We're looking good, guys. I do apologize. I'm breaking the fourth wall a lot. We're trying to condense the recording time here just to kind of get things moving along. But, our tournament breakdown. Yeah. What the hell am I talking about?
I thought you were talking about the segment pertaining to...
Fuck this guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
They've been fucked well enough.
Yeah, they have been. Yeah. Well, and honestly, everyone else around them has too. I'm going to jump real quick through this because...
Go for it.
Due to my traveling on Tuesday and Wednesday, do you remember, did I do some judging on Thursday? I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did do a little bit of judging on Thursday.
I think because I was so busy, I managed to do a little judging while I was on the throne one day.
I think so.
There's some breaking the fourth wall.
That is truly breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, there you go. So
disturbing fashion.
Yeah, I'm just going to run through the standings. What I did was, and you saw, and you forwarded it, thank you very much, on my standing updates on Instagram, I actually, by popular request, put all of the standings, everyone on there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, it was not to knock anyone by fewer point totals. It was motivational, and people kept asking me about it.
Like, where am I on the board? I got to see where that is.
So I'll be doing that on my weekly updates now. After every week, awesome. there'll be a standings, and you'll see where everyone places. So I'm going to start at the bottom. Oh, God, I'm going to start at the bottom. And this is payback for taking my dollar bill.
That's true.
Andrew Tomer.
Oh, I didn't realize Andrew was in.
Yeah, well, I don't think he realizes it either. He is currently bringing up the rear of the caboose. He's bringing up the caboose, baby. He's got 1 point from the Hooksett Hoodlums.
Okay.
Tim O'Keefe, guy who fishes with us for MAKB West events. Tim's got 1, but a little note on that. Tim's actually got more than that because some of the thrown pictures I judged. He's down in Florida with another member, Russ Hatch.
Yep.
Who Russ, I've been busting his balls relentlessly about closed mouths, which he actually at first was worried, and then I said, no, I'm just going to embarrass you publicly. You'll be fine.
There you go. Perfect.
Russ has 2 points, but they're down in Florida, and they're catching all sorts of peacock bass out of canals.
Nice.
And Tim actually sent me a picture of a fish I could not identify.
Really?
And then I ran it by, honestly, as close as you can get to a professional angler, a rep for Torquedo Motor Company.
Yep.
Named Jeff Little, who I met at the Trifecta.
Yeah.
And I said, Jeff, by the way, you've been around the world, you've seen all sorts of shit. What fish is this? And he's like, I have no idea.
Really?
He didn't know either.
Wow,
yeah, so
that much of a stumper.
So Tim turned into mystery fish because we don't know if it's an invasive, if it's a local fish. We have no idea.
Yep.
And yeah, so thanks, Tim. You've really screwed me up now. I'm obsessed over finding out this goddamn fish species. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
it could be fresh or
fish.
It could be fresh or salt because he caught it in a brackish canal.
Yep.
Because he
that
had
makes
pictures
it even
of
harder to figure out.
Yeah, he had pictures of peacock bass, largemouth bass, and a snook out of there too. So and then you get this fish that looks like honestly Satan. And we don't know what it was. Both guides, I told them it was either a snakehead or a bowfin relative. It is absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyways, back to the standings. We've got Dylan Barber. Dylan Barber's coming in at 3. He is tied with Mike Trzynski at 3. Ryan Manners where's Ryan? Ryan's out of Old Glory, right?
Yep, Ryan's out of Old Glory.
Ryan's got 4 points in. Ryan's currently leading the largemouth category. All his 4 points are off a 21-inch plus largemouth.
Really?
Let me get the exact length on that because that largemouth is 21 1/4. Big largemouth. So Ryan's there. Mr. DaCosta, my guy and yours, Nelson.
Yeah,
Nelson. Nelson's been spending a lot of time with family, and then his fishing time's been on the salt with me, yanking fluke and sea robbing out of every freaking inlet and bay in Connecticut. He's got 4.
That's awesome.
We got Rich Soderquist at 5, and he is tied up with Chris Hampton Speak of Texas, who I had a little phone conversation with. Chris is currently leading, and I'm saying this with the utmost jealousy. Utmost Bobby Roast Beef. She got a bowfin out of Texas and sent me the video of her catching it.
Oh, that's right.
It's her first bowfin, 24 inches. She stood staring at that thing when she hauled it into the boat. She boat flipped it into a kayak, a 24-inch bowfin.
And you can tell by her body language that she is like, what the hell is this?
What have I done?
Yeah, like what kind of, what gate of hell have I opened?
Yes. So Chris, great job. You're in 5th and I'm jealous. I'm sorry, you have 5 points and I'm jealous. Sticky Fred, our guy, our friend Sticky Fred. 6th place. Gravy Fishing, I keep saying place. Would you slap me? 6 points. Gravy Fishing tied with Sticky Fred, 6 points. Coming up, now we get double digits. Here's where things get fun. All right, this is a tie for 4th place. Actually, I mean it, 4th place, not points, place. We have 3 Bell Zone, Derek Ardioli.
Oh, look at that.
12 points, tied up with a man some call Alexi, a man some call Howie. A man who may have toured Japan with Motorhead.
Yes.
Chris DeBari, 12 points, tied for 4th place. 3rd place, Jay Manning, 13 points. 2nd place, me, 18 points.
Yep.
I also was the first to hit 100 inches and first to hit 200 inches, so those are off the board, folks. 1st place, is this even a surprise anymore? Jerry fucking House.
Jerry House.
Great job, man. 21 points.
Man. Jerry. Dude. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Now I'm just going to wrap this up with all these point totals are from the end of week 2, which we've started week 3 now.
Yep.
These are to be updated, but at the end of the 15th or 16th, whatever date I put that post up on Instagram, they are there. That's all I have for this segment, my friend.
Beautiful. Guys, we're going to take a real quick break here, and when we get back, we have when I recorded with Paul Roberts, we recorded for well over 2 hours, and I'm going to leave this interview as untouched as possible because it is wonderful. There are points in this interview where Paul was really interviewing me, And I'm not just saying that. Like, honestly, that's how it went down. So go ahead, enjoy it. Paul was great to have on. Make sure that you go and check out Bass and Brews. We love Alex. We love Paul. They're great folks. Hookset Hoodlums for life. And we'll be right back, guys, with more after this with a good word from our good friends at Three Bells Outfitters.
Fuck those guys.
Fuck those guys.
Fuck those guys.
Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef here. We've got an interview segment this week, and we are blessed this week to have a guest who is not only one of the newest members in the Hookset Hoodlums pro staff, but has also been given access to that very exclusive pro staff chat that we've talked about many times on the show. In the beef seat this week, I have Paul Ruggedly Handsome Roberts with us. Paul, how you doing, buddy? How's things out there?
Man, I'm wonderful. Things are great.
Good.
We'll call it down here in South Carolina. Summer decided to sneak on in on us today. She's about a month and a half late, but
Yep.
here, I think.
Now, you guys just had a little bit of rough weather come through with Elsa, over the weekend, right?
It's down here in the Carolinas and the Southeast. It was just rain, and it wasn't even a lot of rain comparative to some of the other storms we get. So it wasn't bad, That's good. We're not struggling for rain right now. So wildfire season down here is pretty much over.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We got dumped on. I mean, we've had rain all weekend for the most part, and then I think all Sunday it rained, most of today. Then tomorrow through, I think Thursday, we're supposed to get on and off rain constantly. Water levels are higher than I've seen them in a long time in some areas. And in fact, just recently there was a report that the Connecticut River, where we are, had tested for unbelievably high levels of bacteria from all the waste that had kind of run into the rivers with all the rain. So people got to watch out for that stuff, man. Anyway, let's go ahead. We're going to have a conversation, talk a little bit about fishing. We're going to talk a lot about fishing. Kind of let our listeners sort of know a little bit more about you, get to know you a little bit. So to start things off, tell me the story, Paul. How was it that you got into the outdoors, specifically fishing? How was it introduced to you? And then to the point where now you've come a long way where you've started working with social media, and you're now on the pro staff for Hookset Hoodlums, as well as now you're officially official on the podcast with Alex, Swamp Rat Fishing on Bass and Brews. How did we get there,
Well, I grew up in a real small town, South Carolina, called McBee, South Carolina, and it's country. A.O. Smith water heaters and farming, peach farm primarily, and Grandpa owned a peach farm there, and they had a pond, and they called it the Hog Pond, and it was called the Hog Pond not because it had big fish in it, even though it did. Okay. But half of the hog pond was the fence for the hog rearing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So you go out there and go fishing, and there'd be pigs over there wallering on the bank. But anyway,
Oh yeah.
I don't know what prompted it. I was aggravating a little kid, and so I think at some point I wanted to go fishing.
Yep.
And my grandpa took me out there to hog pond, and we had worms, a cork. I had this. It wasn't a Snoopy reel, but it was like a little teeny old kid reel.
Yeah.
And I caught a bass, and I remember the cork going on there. I remember reeling it in. I got to understand. I'm a grandpa like golf, and my grandpa was a farmer, so we didn't sit still long. So for him to take me out there and to sit there for who knows how long it took to catch that bass was good.
Yeah.
But we caught the bass. It might have been a pound or so. Broke off a branch. Put it on a stringer, and I made them take it home, and we cooked it and ate it. It was probably about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no kidding. Nice. That's awesome, man.
That started my love and passion for fishing. And then my daddy didn't have much fishing experience or nothing, but he went and bought an old rinky-dink John boat and a rinky-dink trolling motor. And me and him started going fishing, and he had a buddy of his that he worked with that was a good angler. And we started fishing with him and just learned. And, my daddy was happy out there with a Zebco 33 chunking a worm. That's all he wanted to do. And obviously I had the bug. So I wanted all the lures and all the stuff. And I kind of took it to another level. But he took me fishing. I mean, that was the biggest thing. When Grandpa initially took me, I was 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
So kind of that, if you listen to any folks from the country, and they don't have to be from the South, country everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those folks got started when they were that young, 4 or 5 years old, pretty much old enough to go out there and not drown.
Yeah, exactly.
So that started it. And then through high school, I ended up, me and buddies would go fishing, and they didn't like to go with me much because I would go it all day, cold, hot, didn't matter.
Yep.
Sun up to sundown. And then, that's what I wanted to do. And I had some folks there that fished on the local Redman trails. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Redman trails. They were kind of like the Bass Opens now.
Gotcha.
But it was sponsored by Redman Chewing Tobacco.
Oh yeah, I figured that much. Nice. That's some old school shit.
And so I had some of those folks that were bass anglers and spent a lot of time on Little Lake Robinson, now where I'm from, and then Lake Wateree. So it just was in it, hunting and fishing and playing sports. And there's where it kind of changed. I graduated high school and had opportunity to go play football in college, and I went and did that. And so that kind of ended my fishing up until 2004, I think it was. After football, I joined a little Bassmasters Bass Club here in Alamance County, North Carolina.
That's awesome.
And fished as a non-boater for a couple years. That would have been 04 to 06. And then 2007, moved to South Carolina as a wildland firefighter, and I fished in 2008. 2008, I got a full-time job near Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
And this would have been 2009. So 2009, I didn't fish. I stopped fishing.
Yep.
Priorities changed. I had a different job.
Oh, yeah.
Very new location. So changed. I fish every night, like me, not even once a year with my daddy. Me and him go pillow around. But I didn't bass fish or do anything starting in 2009 all the way up to November of 2020.
Oh, no kidding. That long.
Yeah. It was almost like starting over.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. What's up, buddy? My son. We taking care of my son. This is Carter.
Oh, there you go. How you doing, buddy?
Real quick, what's up?
Macaroni cheese was too cold, so I put it back in
the fridge. Okay, thank you.
I couldn't find the top.
Okay, it's okay. I'll get it. Okay, thank you.
I love kids, man. See you, bud.
So he's my knucklehead. He's my full fishing buddy. He'll go out there with me for 6 or 7 hours. So
that's the best.
but yeah, I had a big hiatus. During that time, we lived about a quarter mile from the Savannah River in Augusta, Georgia area, and we bought a couple kayaks, and I think it was 2015. But they were just to go piddle around out on because we're so close to the river.
Yeah, take advantage of the resource. Yeah,
exactly. And I like to ultralight fish, so I have some ultralight stuff, and that I do that, and I take the kids out. We whatever bit. So I have all like thousands of dollars in bass fishing gear.
Yeah, collecting
dust. I take care of it. I make sure when it moves, all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's just collecting dust. And as a matter of fact, after I got the kayaks, I started watching some YouTube videos. And so I saw that was kind of, so when I got into it, the Guggen Squad had just kind of gotten together and were starting to get big. Kayak catfishing, who's huge now. I watched some of those and I wanted to fish and it never happened. Job changes, all this and that. So we move up here back to Raleigh, North Carolina area. And we got Sharon Harris, MLF this year and then 2 years ago. They'll know these lakes. We got Sharon Harris, which is 15 minutes from my house. Jordan Lake, which I can be at most of the landings there, 20 minutes or less. And then Falls. So, all right here.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of little municipal lakes that are real good.
Yep.
And so, just life happened. This and I looked at my wife one day and said, look, I want to condense my life. I got too much shit going on.
Yep.
Because I like shit. I like to do stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I told her, I was like, I want to start fishing again. So I started looking at bass boat clubs as a non-angler. And a lot of them around here don't have non-anglers anymore because, people are assholes and they ruin it for everybody else. So, saw some real kayak anglers when I was out fiddle farting in my old kayak out at Sharon Harris. And a ding went off and I'm like, that's what I want to do. So November of 2020, I told her I want to start kayak fishing again. I took my little Avalon 120 out there and fished and piddled around and started meeting some folks. And a lot had changed. I didn't know what an Alabama rig was. I didn't know what a whopper plopper was.
Yep.
Like a lot had changed in this time. But I still knew how to fish. The lures are just a means to catch them. Knowing bass behavior and all this and that. So, that long ass story was to tell you that I did a lot of fishing up until a certain point, and I did not a lot of fishing at all for a long time. But here I am, and to say that is the concepts don't change. The basics of fishing don't change.
Oh yeah.
What changes? Used to be your tackle, your lures, rods and reels.
Yep.
But now technology is kind of that factor, the X factor.
Yep.
And not just with the sonar, but with from a kayak world. This is what we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Kayaks and motors, and y'all had the panel with the talking about propulsion of the kayaks. But, it's been great in getting back into it. It's been awesome because I'm a competitive ass person.
Yeah, I hear you.
I can't remember whose I can't remember whose post it was on Instagram, and I even said it on the first interview with Alex.
Yeah.
Like I love to fish, but I want to fish to compete. Like I'm trying to beat somebody.
You're looking for that next level, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care who it is. Me and you could go fishing. Like I want to win, and I want to go. The fun fishing to me is to go fishing, but I like having that competitive edge. And growing up, I wanted to bass fish, professionally, if we want to call it that.
Yep.
Because I wanted to compete. The kayaking avenue gave me the avenue to compete.
To be able to get out there and do that, yeah.
So that's the story. And that's brought us to where we are now.
That's awesome, man. And you said something in there that I agree wholeheartedly with, is like condensing your life. Like kind of, I'm the same way. I'm a business owner. Like, so I am working constantly. While I have more time and stuff for my family, and I can it's only because I'm in charge and I can tell myself that, like, yep, I'm taking this time off and I'm doing whatever. That's the only benefit. But otherwise, I'm constantly working. I'm always working. COVID threw me a big wrench in the works, and that's how this whole thing kind of happened. Like the podcast, I always wanted to do some kind of like content, but I didn't really, for some reason I come from a television background. I know the work that it takes to put YouTube stuff together, to edit videos, to create these, to create good quality content to the standard that I would like to put out there. And honestly, I just know that I don't have the time for it. So when I saw, and I looked at COVID as an opportunity, I was like, well, I'm not going to be hosting any trivia. Nobody's going to be having any weddings or anything for a little while. I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to create something. And it slowly turned into something amazing. And the other point that I love that you made is about the technology. Like, you look at something like Panoptics right now, when you're using live scope and that specific kind of technology, that's one thing. But look at like the apps that are out there. Look at like Angler. It allows you to track all of your progress and pay really close attention to detail using GPS of where you are and where you're having success, what you're having that success on. And it kind of like, I know Sean the Fisherman is a huge proponent of, documenting all of your catches and then creating a database, but using some of this technology can really streamline that and make it a lot easier to put that power in the palm of everybody's hand. Even more is like Fishbrain, people that use that app and they can discover water, or Google Earth. Years ago, like think about it, before you took your laps of fishing and everything. I mean, if you could pull a small computer out of your pocket and go, I wonder if there's any, you're at a family event or something at some place and you're like, I wonder if there's any water nearby. I can't tell you how many times I've done that and discovered new places that may have been either flops or wonderful because of the technology. Like technology is just absolutely huge. What is it? What's your personal like favorite season to get out there and fish?
I have no season I like in specifically, and I mean to explain that a little bit is, I'm gonna go fish regardless of the weather, barring it being too windy or lightning. So if I had to pick a season, I probably would go with late fall.
Yeah, like it's for like creature comforts. Like that's what you like the most.
I at least down here in the South, I believe in that. I believe that because of my experiences and the people I fish with. I just believe that that's the opportunity to catch a fish of a lifetime down here. Of course, the spring is part of that as well, but it's it's a small window. But if you hit it right, I mean, you could put up a lot of big fish down here in the South. And in the South, I say the Carolinas because I'm familiar with that.
Yep.
That fall time is just it's a great opportunity. And from kind of like a philosophical side, the smells of fall and the feeling of fall.
Oh yeah.
It's it all just kind of goes into that mental aspect of the game and being in tune with nature.
Yeah, those transitional months in spring and in fall are absolutely key because, like up here, up north, we have this whole like situation where, we've got months where lots of people are not fishing whatsoever. So you get, when you have ice on every single body of water around you, it kind of sucks to get out there. So in the spring, you're just happy to get out there. In the fall, it's a little bit interesting. Like you're right. Like It's just a good sort of spot where, you've got fish that are feeding up. They're getting ready for the winter, when things are going to slow down big time. So you've got these great opportunities to catch absolute monsters. And then, let's be honest. I'm not a sports guy at all, but I know a lot of my friends are huge football fans. And when Sunday rolls around, they're going to be at home in the living room watching the game. I'm going to be at the lake or at the river catching some fish. That's just the way I work, I'm like, I love it. You get much less pressure. It's great. It's great. And I think actually with fall specifically as opposed to spring, because a lot of people are thinking pre-spawn, I want to get that PB. So there's a lot of pressure that just comes up from out of nowhere with the pre-spawn. I think in the fall, you don't get nearly as much pressure as you used to.
Yeah,
I should say as compared to the spring, not as you used to.
Well, yeah, golly, pressure now is way different than it was just a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still warmer and hotter, and people, the allure of going out and fishing and doing stuff like that is worn off on a lot of people, especially if you've gone out during the summer and tried to fish when it's hot as hell and not caught anything. And so, yeah, it's just different. And, man, it sucks for you folks up north. Dude. I mean, the fall is kind of, you don't have to worry about the freezing rain or all that stuff. Golly, I couldn't imagine not being able to fish for like 6 months out of the year because shit's frozen. You go ice fishing. Yeah,
but it's not that long. I will fish open water most years until like early December. So that's not too bad. But once you hit Christmas time, you're done until St. Patrick's.
Oh, see, yeah. Now, I was out here fishing. Now, it gets, contrary to popular belief, it gets cold down here.
We were planning a trip to Myrtle Beach. And my wife is like, oh, we'll go in April. It'll be great. The kids will have the beach. And I was like, all right, sounds good. And she looked into it. And she's like, it's not really beach weather down that far.
It can't. Now, look, I grew up going to Myrtle Beach. That's my people now.
Yeah.
You can go down there then and have a good time and enjoy the beach. It's going to be hit or miss. It might be cold, but it might be 80 degrees or 85 degrees too.
Oh, yeah.
The weather will be better than it is up there, most likely.
Oh, I guarantee it. And that's the thing. My kids, they would love it, regardless.
Well, it's all relative.
Yeah.
I was a kid. I jump in the pool. It's probably, it was April.
Yep.
March, April. Lips are blue going in the pool. But, yeah, that's all relative. But, the thing is here is when I started in November, so November to the 1st of February.
Yep.
During this time, I'm fishing Sharon Harris, which is, renowned lake for big fish. And we had a hard winter here, and I didn't really know it, but I caught one bass. One damn bass. I was going fishing 2 to 3 times a week.
No kidding.
For at least 3 hours.
Yep.
And I caught from November to 1st February, actually it's past February, it's 1st March. I caught one bass. And I swear to God, the thing fit through a scupper hole. It was so small.
Wow. All right.
But I knew, that's how much I like to fish. And it was, we had a tournament there 1st February. It was 24 degrees when we launched. Mm. And so it was cold. We don't have a lot of wind during that time.
That's helpful.
Yeah. But, we can still fish year round and we can still catch fish. I had a buddy in January caught a 7.5 pounder.
Nice.
And we launched that morning too. It was below freezing. It was below 30 degrees and he caught that fish. So we can fish. We year round, we can be out there at least honing our skills or trying new stuff.
That's exactly it. Like you can get out there with like jerk baits or a blade bait when the water's colder and you can still get on them. That's cool. I'm working with my wife and I are putting together a trip to Tennessee. She wants to go to Nashville, Chattanooga, and then Pigeon Forge?
Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, she wants to go out there.
Dollywood too now. Y'all got to go to Dollywood.
That's the reason she wants to go. She's like, I think the kids will love Dollywood. I'm like, all right, we'll go do it. And I said, but you got to understand, I got people in that part of the country. And I'm like, I need you to not get pissed at me if I'm going to take a day and go fish,
That's right.
I mean, we might have to pack a couple of rods so that, Bobby can scratch the itch on the Tennessee River, or something along those lines. Because and just today, Jordan Capone posted, he was in Pigeon Forge. Just today on his story posted, I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. I'm like,
where are you located?
I'm in Massachusetts.
So my wife, this is funny you brought that up. My wife looks at me yesterday. We went and picked kids up from my mama's house in North Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And we're driving there. She goes, you know where Nantucket is? I'm like, yeah, somewhere up there, Connecticut, Delaware. I don't know, somewhere in that area.
Yep.
And she said, we want to go there. And I was like, oh, really? Well, hell yeah, let's go. She started talking about flying. I'm like, well, hold on now. I got some people up in that area that I know now associated with the hook set hoodlums.
Oh yeah.
And that, why don't we drive and I'll take the kayak so I can fish a little bit. She said, that's like 16 hours. I'm like, I can drive 16 hours straight. I've done it many a times. So it's the same thing. So I don't know if I ruined that trip for us or not, but there's small possibility I'm coming to Nantucket at some point.
Nantucket is amazing. She's going to have a great time. Save up for some spending cash because Nantucket is not a cheap place to vacation at all.
All I want to do is come up there and eat lobster.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's all we've got that in spades. And I'll tell you, like striper fishing is amazing out there. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. But it's so good. You should. I say this all the time, and I just got to pull the trigger on doing it. We should organize some kind of a trip like that, where just have a bunch of the pro staff get together and do. I was considering doing like either a charter or with Todd Grubb on his party boat. He works on a party boat off of, is it Newport? It's right in Rhode Island. Like all these little states were basically all right crammed next to one another. So it's so easy. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much good stuff out there. When it comes to salt, I know nothing. So I'm all about going out with a charter and working with them. It's just like, okay, this is what I do. Great. Awesome. Yeah. I know nothing, but.
So growing up, I said we had a camper.
Yep.
Or Myrtle Beach Travel Park. And it was right there on the ocean. And so they had a pond there. I used to pond fish all the time. One morning I went out there and there was somebody surf fishing. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm surf fishing. And he's out there catching spots and croakers and stuff like that. So I started doing that. And then one evening, me and a buddy went out there, and I was probably 12, 13 years old at this point, 10, somewhere in there. Went out there and we see people surf fishing at night. We're like, what y'all out here doing? He said, we're catching shark. And I'm like, bullshit.
Yep.
I'd be damned if they weren't catching shark. So that's when I went to the beach. I fished at the pond all day. Sun started going down. Everybody got off the beach. I'd go out there and surf fish for shark. That's awesome. We use squid and shrimp and cut bait, and we catch shark all night long. So
all night long.
Like the tug is the drug, all whatever that.
Oh yeah.
Is. Like I just want to catch shit. I mean, that's literally it. Now I love to bass fish.
Yeah.
I got a choice. If somebody says, "Hey, we can go do this, or we can go bass fish," I'm like, "Let's go bass fish."
Yep.
But I just like to wet a hook and catch shit.
I think that's exactly what it is. Like the tug is the drug. What you want to do is have it be you up against nature, figuring out where these creatures are, and then hooking them and bringing them in. Whether it's for sport or for food or whatever it is, because the ocean gives us amazing things in the kitchen. It really does. And I mean, even freshwater. There's amazing things that freshwater can give you too, which is just like it's whatever itch you've got when it comes to the water, like fishing will scratch it. It'll just get it done. People always talk about fishing and being patient and shit. Look, I'm can I cuss? You absolutely can.
I'm an impatient motherfucker.
Yep.
Like I have no patience. And fishing lends to that in a lot of senses.
Yeah.
Like you can be impatient fishing. You just have to realize how to be impatient and still potentially be productive.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't. That's the thing is you can be patient, you can be impatient, you cannot want like the fishing you can mold it to your personality and what you want to do, but you have to like being outside.
Yeah.
And part of nature. I mean, that works. Speaking of eating freshwater, you eat largemouth bass?
Periodically. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So you don't have no problem with Sean the fisherman frying some up on the. Okay.
Sean makes a wonderful largemouth pizza, and his recipe is fantastic.
I've never had fish on pizza.
Yep.
But look, down here in the Carolinas, we ain't got a lot of freshwater fish like y'all got up there. We ain't a walleye, muskie, and all that, whatever. We got largemouth, we got brim.
Yep.
And we may or may not have crappie. I grew up fishing in ponds that had brim and largemouth. That was it.
That was it, yeah.
And jackfish, which y'all refer to as pike.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Because they're further down that way.
Yeah. We call them jackfish. Yep. We didn't eat jackfish; they's too bony. And we had catfish, obviously, but that was you weren't going to catch just random anyway. So I grew up eating largemouth. I don't know what the hell's wrong with people. That's a good eating fish.
It does. For some reason, people, they say all the time, they're like, oh, it's not even a good eating fish. It's not great. I will tell you that the general rule for me is the colder the water you catch them out of, the better tasting they are. Like there's a certain point where the water's too warm and they can taste a little bit muddy, but they're great, I think the big thing is the big debate with, I think, whether it's harvesting or catch and release is more, are you doing it ethically? Are you not keeping trophies? Because these days the technology is so amazing that you can, any trophy that you catch, if you measure and photograph, you can have an amazing replica done. And then, a year or two later, you could catch that same fish again. That's the beauty. And it would be bigger then, ideally. But we have up here, what we have is a lot of people who will go and just completely ignore the laws in place for a daily limit. And you'll see people with just coolers and coolers and coolers of fish that don't measure with what's legal to keep, or, it's just crazy, which if you're indulging in that sense, just filling your freezer and being greedy about it, that kind of makes you an asshole. I get the catch and release idea. Let them grow 100%. Really probably 98% of the fish I catch get released. The ones that I keep, I caught a small lake trout just this spring. And trout are great eating. They're fantastic. Some people hate them. I love them. But this for a lake trout was pretty small. It was 17-inch. Choked. Yeah. It's big, but for lake trout get much larger. So I'm like, 17-inch trout is a big trout, but for a lake trout, that's not very big. This son of a bitch absolutely destroyed a half-ounce rattle trap that I was using. Absolutely destroyed it, and gut hooked him so bad, and he's bleeding out all over the place. And I tried to release him, and he wasn't going to make it. So I said, all right, I'm going to get a stick, and I'm going to make a stringer, because this was also my fourth or fifth cast of the day, and I had driven 90 minutes to get to this spot. So I'm like, I'm not calling it a day yet. So I put him on a little stringer. I stake that stringer down to a spot. I finish fishing the rest of the day, and I'm like, if a turtle comes and grabs him, he wasn't mine to begin with. If he's still here, I'm taking him home. And I ended up taking him home, throwing a little bit of garlic, a little bit of Tony's, a little bit of black pepper in a pan with some butter, fried him up, and my daughter and I had dinner that night. She was so excited because she had never eaten a fish that I had caught. She was just like, this is crazy, So that for me is usually it. Like if I gut hook a fish and it's going to die and I can take it, I'll put it to use. Ice fishing's a whole other animal. You have never had largemouth as good as it is through the ice. Like that's the real defining factor. Like when it's really cold like that, oh, it's so good.
You're right. I ain't never had no fish directly from the ice.
We should get you up here because this is the year for me. I'm going to start in about September and start trying to acquire some ice gear because last year I missed the boat. I really wanted to get out, and I think I set too lofty of a goal. And my whole thing was if I didn't want to be less than prepared and then take a trip to like Maine if we didn't have safe ice locally. That's the biggest challenge with ice fishing is Some years you just have shit ice and you can't get out on the ice. It's not safe. There's people, tragedy strikes often. So it's like you want to do it right. You want to be safe. So if I'm going to, take the pilgrimage to go north and get to wherever there is safe ice, I want to make sure I can stay there. So I want to make sure I'm ready with the right gear and everything. So it's a good trip. And this year is going to be a whole other animal. This year I plan on being on the ice a lot.
Oh, hell yeah. So I was a wildland firefighter in 2007 and 8, and two of the guys that I fought fire with were from Minnesota.
Oh,
so they would come down to South Carolina in January, kind of in the middle of ice fishing. Mm-hmm. And we tried for about 4 years to plan a trip for me to get up there. Because again, ice fishing, that's something, y'all can't get in a boat down here in January, but I can't go ice fishing down here in January either. So that's something I definitely wanted to do. But going back to eating fish, it's the efficacy of whatever you're eating.
Yeah.
Brim, which y'all call bluegill, we call brim down here, which encompasses bluegill and sunfish.
All the panfish family.
Yeah, panfish. I don't call it panfish. A fish in a pan is a panfish.
Yep. Yeah.
Here we call them brim. But they reproduce a lot quicker. And
oh yeah.
And same thing with crappie. The largemouth, I don't keep anything. When we would keep fish, we're fishing in small farm ponds.
Yeah.
At this point too. So we were keeping fish usually 14 inches and below.
Yep.
14 to 12 inches because those were best eating. Well, we didn't flay them either. I mean, we cut the head off, we gutted them, we fried the whole damn fish.
Oh, very nice.
So, there wasn't we didn't flay a lot of fish.
Yeah.
we ate everything. But it's the efficacy of what fish you're eating is what it comes down to. And, it's just like everything else. You got assholes who they can't follow the rules, and they ruin it for everybody else. Yep. But ain't nothing wrong with it. I'll tell you what, my son, he loves to eat fish, and I'll fillet fish. I'll fry them whole, just cut the head off, gut them. When we catch fish to eat, every time he goes, "Daddy, make sure you leave the head on for me." He wants the whole fish.
The whole fish.
So I gut it. I gut it. Oh my Lord! Hold on. Yes, buddy. Hold on. I'll gut it, and then he'll and that's it. I'll fry it with the head on and everything, and he eats it. But I mean, that's the thing, though. Is you said your daughter was ecstatic that she was eating a fish you caught.
Yep.
And that's how you get kids excited about wanting to go fish or to get out in nature. Is to, oh my God, we don't have to buy fish from the store.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to change her life, potentially forever. Who knows? She might come to you this weekend and go take me fishing.
Exactly. I wish she would. This one specifically. Oh, she's my video game kid. My older one, she had a good summer last year. We went out and she caught some fish. It was actually the first year she would hold the largemouth and lip them and take the hook out herself. But she's going to be 17 this year. So it's like for her, I thought, I brought her out to fish when she was about 10 or 11, and I thought, we didn't catch anything. She caught a chain pickerel one time and was just absolutely so impressed with herself. But to her, this was like a sea monster, But there have been times where I'll take my kids, even if they're not necessarily actively fishing, like I'll bring them to a pond where they can hike around the pond. Or if my youngest just wants to hang out near me and like play games on her iPad or something, then cool, But when there is a little bit of action, her ears perk right up and she's right there watching with what's going on. There's a couple of times where I hooked a snapping turtle, large one, on a little tiny finesse hook drop shot. And I'm like, how am I going to get this thing off? I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And I basically used the butt end of my net to like pop that hook off. But I was fishing on this platform that was about 6 feet up off the water. And she comes over and was just like, is that like a dinosaur? What the hell is that thing? Could not believe it. I mean, it's amazing. And like with kids, that's exactly it. You just got to let them do what they're going to do, you know? And what I like to do is if I tell them that we're going to go fish, oftentimes I'll leave my gear at home and I'll just work with them. And I know we'll be out for 45 minutes, an hour. Cool. When they're done, I'll bring them home and then maybe then I'll go fish or I'll go fish later that night and, you know, get it out of my system. That's the name of the game.
Well, yeah, and you know, my wife, she's got a couple fishing stories for us. Like the first time I ever took her fishing, I took all the stuff out there, and we were bank fishing with. I think I had crickets at the time on some ultralight. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Yeah, he took me fishing." Now my wife didn't grow up. She grew up in North Carolina, but she wasn't country. She ain't country.
Nope.
And she didn't do any of that stuff. So the first time she ever went fishing was with me. And she's like, "We get out there and go fish," and it's just like you just sit there and look at the cork. And that's it. We ain't say nothing. We didn't talk. I'm like, you know, but with the kids, I'm not taking them out there to fish for an hour. Yeah. Like that's a good thing about, I got a pro angler, so I can put a Tommy Bahama chair in the back of my pro angler.
There you go.
Put my kids on. Now my daughter, she doesn't care as much about it. She goes, but like I put them back there. They have no choice.
Yeah, they're going to fish.
They're going to be out there as long as I'm out there. And I understand they want to catch fish. Like that's the joy.
Yep.
And that was the joy that I had that got me into it. So that's what I want them to do. So regardless if I catch anything, I always go to places and I fish with artificial bait. I fish with little 32nd ounce jigs with a 3/4 inch Berkeley Power Minnow.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't have to keep anything alive or any of that. And I put it on a cork and, you know, it's just out there. And the last time me and my son went, he caught the only bass we caught that day. And it was a nice one. It was about a pound. Nice. He caught a brim and then he caught a catfish. So, I mean, he got to reel them all in by himself and all that. So, I mean, you think about it that's what gets him interest because he's the video game kid too. Yeah. I mean, he loves you saw he just brought me the damn iPad because he needed to update one of his games.
Yep.
Pokemon.
I've been there, man.
Oh, did you see Tackle Warehouse has Pokemon lures?
I heard about that.
So I saw it and I sent they're $30 now. I sent my wife a text. I want to buy a cart of this. She said, it looks kind of expensive. I was like, it's the most expensive lure I've ever bought my entire damn life.
Yeah. But
I haven't bought it yet because he would enjoy it, but it's got hooks on it. So I mean, he'd be done damn hooked himself in the face. But anyway, tangent.
But you never know. What was it? Is it like a crankbait or a wake bait or something?
Yeah, it looks like some kind of little damn wake bait. I'm pretty sure it ain't one. I'm pretty sure it's out there for the YouTubers.
That's what I think. That's the idea.
Right. I mean, it's like you fish with a rat though, don't you?
I do. Oh, and it's a big fish killer. Like it will call them up. Paul, you don't understand. I had all the apprehension about using this thing. Hang on, I'm going to show it to you.
And now, Bobby Roast Beef enters the dark abyss to go get the rat. The rat.
All right. This is the stupidest looking thing I have ever seen. Here's the tail.
Stupid as the bat.
No, but I could see, it's funny. My father had a bat.
I remember you telling that story about you wanting to throw the bat.
And it was like a top water, like a walker is what I think it was. And I've heard that style of bait will kill them. And especially fishing at night. But it was Todd Grubb that told me about this. So I picked one up. I had a pickerel take off the tail. So I do want to replace it with this one, but it knocks. I don't know if you can hear it.
Is it like a whopper? Is it a plopper style bait?
No, it's like technically it's a wake bait. But it's got a joint, so it kind of has this S motion, and it knocks so loud when you're, especially on a kayak on a quiet. on a quiet morning, when you throw that, you can cast it a country mile. When that hits the water, it's loud as hell, and then you just kind of give it a slow retrieve, and it just kind of along the water. What ends up happening is it just calls big fish up. There was a day where I hit for 3 fish. I hit an 18 and a half, I hit a 16, and then I hit a 17 and a quarter.
Damn.
Yeah, just bang, bang, bang. And it was, I mean, it was like one of the best mornings I ever had. That 18 and a half, I couldn't enter in a tournament, though, because it flipped off the board. Worst, oh, damn. It sucks being a big guy on like a not exactly large kayak. It sucks.
I'm fishing in the Kayak Bass Nation 4JT event this month, and I'm not going to win because you're going to need like 120 inches to win that damn tournament. But I want to compete, right? So I've been catching some decent fish. I've had a couple fish flop off the board on me, but I luckily got a picture before they flopped.
Oh, that's awesome. Now,
I didn't get to name them, so I didn't get any Instagram footage or weight because a couple of them were big fish. They're probably 5-pound fish. But I'd be damn if I had the wrong damn camera function on my phone and couldn't enter a 17 3/4 into my tournament.
That's the worst feeling. When you lose a fish like that, oh my, I'm pretty sure people towns over can hear my reaction. And the worst part is, when that 18 and a half flopped off my board, it's on video. It's on video.
Look, I just started videotaping some of my fishing, and I say videotaping like I'm damn 88 years old. I just started whatever in my videos. And so I talk to myself a lot.
Yeah.
And I cuss a lot, and I get pissed. Like I'm very animated. Like I would rather not get a bite all day than to lose a fish. And so I've got some content together, and I gotta start learning how to edit and all that shit. But it's it ain't gonna be. And I'm going to put in there getting hung and all the shit that happens. Because, look, if you ain't never fished out of a kayak, y'all, you won't believe some of the shit that happens.
Oh, it's comical. It is comical.
I ain't talking about falling out and fish jumping off. I'm talking about looking back and your 4 poles behind you somehow have gotten so tangled you're cutting every damn bait off of them. I mean, it's just some of the dumbest shit happens in a kayak I've ever seen in my entire life. I've been fishing a long time and done a lot of dumb shit.
Yep. I feel like I'm talking to kindred spirits, man. Like, you get me.
I'm just not quite as bald as you are, even though I love the beard, and I'm glad you let it be free after COVID.
Actually, I did see a barber. I officially have a barber.
I've heard all of it. You've seen the barber, you fucked it up, and you had to cut it off, and then you let it grow again.
No. I did that myself. I saw a barber like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to go see her 3 weeks ago, and like she cleaned me up with a straight razor up here, all nice. Like I got a beard endorsement now with Live Bearded. Like, I mean, this is some shit, and this is great. What's funny is I did notice this. I was getting a lot of grief from 2 people, my mother and my wife. A lot of grief about my beard. And when I went to get this, went to go see the barber to get some shape put in, and I'm going to be going back on Wednesday because I have a big event I'm doing. I want things to look sharp. She's like, yeah, it looks much better now. She's like, she shortened it a little bit. I was like, no, it's just as long as it was. It's just shaped the right sort of way. So
don't say no. Say, yeah, we cut off half an inch.
That's kind of.
Can I tell you a funny beard story?
Yeah.
So I have been clean shaven once since May 17th, 2008 at 10:04 in the morning.
Really?
That was the morning of my wedding. I shaved. And I have been clean shaven once since then.
No kidding.
Because I went for a job interview with a company, that didn't allow beards at the time.
Yep.
So I shaved it, and as fate would have it, I'm about to walk into the interview, and I have somebody call me up with a job opportunity. I'm telling them, hey, man, I got to call you back here in a little bit. I'm clean shaven now. My daughter was, I can't remember how old, my daughter was scared to come talk to me for 2 days.
Yeah, I've heard that's how it is.
It happened. It was for real. She had no idea. I scared my wife when I walked out the bedroom. It wasn't because of my small pecker. So I got out there and I did the interview, and I walked out and I called the guy back, and I'll be damned if it was an opportunity I took. And one of the things I told him, and this is what started my career in this, I said, look, I just want to let you know I ain't shaving again. Yeah. He said, I don't care what you look like, as long as you get the job done.
That's exactly it.
And this ain't no lie. Now, from here on out, every time I've gone in to talk to somebody, about a job or working, I tell them straight up, I'm like, look, before I waste your time anymore, I'm not shaving.
Yeah.
And you got a problem with it, then, that's fine. There ain't no problem. But yeah, I've been clean shaven once since May 17th, 2008.
No kidding.
Now, it's been trimmed up a little bit.
Yeah, you got to keep things in order,
Not really. I hate keeping it in order. The only reason I do is because my mom and my wife.
Let me ask you this: with you, you're a bearded guy. How much of a pain in the ass is mask beard?
Is who?
Mask beard. We put the mask on.
The only thing about mask beard I hated was it would push my mustache hairs up into my nose. And so, I'm over here trying not to touch shit. So I and we call hand sanitizer, Hanitizer.
Yep. Because
of my son. He can't put all the words together because he's country. So we put Hanitizer. So I'm sanitizing all the damn time because my mustache is going up in my nose and itching.
You're fixing it. Yeah. No. And now your hands are all raw it's a giant chain reaction. I got these awful, curls that come out on the sides from the strings. I would have to go in, I would host a trivia night, and I would walk in with the mask on, and I would have a boar bristle brush, and I would go take off the mask. I take my phone, brush out my beard, so I could do the show and not look like a freaking homeless person. And then, it's just absolutely ridiculous, man.
I embraced the homeless person syndrome. So you say COVID threw you for a whole loop.
Yeah.
So me too. I had a financial business, and I started, and when COVID hit, they stopped in-person schools here, so I turned into a house husband.
Oh, yeah.
My wife went to work every day, and I was at home with the kids every day, drinking wine and making bread and shit like that, because I'm an artisan bread maker and a beekeeper.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I spent 9 months at home being a house husband, and it was, completely fit my world upside down, too. But what I found out is I learned how to, because of YouTube, I had so much time on my hands. YouTube, I learned how to take my beard and brush it out with the hair dryer. And I got real curly hair.
Yeah.
And so when I brush my beard out, it seriously gets about half as long as it is now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would do that. I started doing that, and I started another business, and I wanted to look nice and pretty. So when I did that, it shaped it, made it look nice and pretty and long and all this. But when I put the mask on, it would bow it out.
Yeah. You get the big dent right at your neck. Yeah. Oh, man, that is awful.
Yeah. But, hey, it was a good food catch. I never had food hit my damn shirt. It always hit my beard, and I just go wash it out in the sink.
That's what you call turning shit into ice cream right there. That's what that is called up here. That is fantastic, man. Let's get back into fishing here. What are your what would be your top 3 confidence baits?
A spook.
Oh, okay.
A Cinco. I throw yum dingers, but I throw them chicken rig.
Oh yeah.
And then a third for me. God, I would say a spinnerbait.
Spinnerbait. All right.
I mean, if shit gets tough, I'm probably going to that stick bait.
Yeah.
And I throw it in chicken rig because I hate weightless shit. Again, that's a patience thing. Mm-hmm. But also, especially in the summertime, fish in the summertime, their metabolism is just through the roof. I mean, they're cold-blooded animals. And I asked Alex this on our first episode.
Yep.
No, our second. Were they cold-blooded or warm-blooded? He had to think about it, and he guessed.
Well, he had to guess? Oh,
yeah, he had to guess. He guessed right. So, but, their metabolism's super high. So slowing it down in the summertime, you slow it down because of what you're fishing. We won't get into that. But anyway, like I want their reaction bite. So I fish that Cinco or that young dinker at stick bait because I literally chicken rig it and I put a roofing nail because they're cheap as hell.
Yep.
And they got a big old flat top to them. Mm-hmm. And that flat top, when it hits, I know can't nobody see this because we're on the radio, but it hits and you can bump it along and that aluminum roofing nail is ticking and tacking on rocks or whatever's down there. But 99% of my bites come on initial fall.
Yeah.
So I can power fish it. I'll throw it in there. I throw it at high percentage areas. I throw it in there. It hits the bottom. I give it a slow tug, and then I give it another just pop. And then when it hits again, I reel it in and throw it in.
Yep.
And you get the reaction bite from it. I don't want the Cinco to float down in front of them so they can see it and study. I want it to go so fast that they have to eat it. That's my mentality. Does that shit work all the time? I don't know because I can't see the fish because down here we got like 8 inches of water clarity. But, when times get tough, I'll power fish at and I'll cover 8-10 miles in the kayak pedaling and just hitting high percentage areas with that. And sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But the third one for me is probably going to be a spinner bait because I feel like I can fish it slow. I can fish it fast. I can fish it top of the water column, crawl it on the bottom. And it's kind of an old school lure if you think about it now.
It really
Chatterbait's
is.
kind of taken over that aspect of it.
Yep, it definitely is. And that's the thing. I find that with a lot of people, when I ask that question about confidence baits, and I love to ask for the top 3 because you get some of the favorites that are in there, some of the things that people will rely on, but you also get a lot of baits that are real versatile. So I hear a lot of the same things like a spinner bait. It's real versatile. You can fish it in a variety of different situations, different water clarities, different depths. Flukes, I hear a lot. Jigs, I hear a lot. We're just, people, they like to fish things in different ways. And I feel like versatility is just a monster. Like you need that. Let's talk about, I got to know your answer for this because you've been fishing for a while. You know that old saying about fishing tackle, catching more suckers, more fishermen than the baits will actually catch fish. In your lifetime, what do you think the most ridiculous tackle trend was that was given us to the industry? And then the follow-up is, did you ever use it and how did it work?
Oh yeah, it would have been you get a lot of the same answers. It's gonna be that mid to late 90s banjo minnow and helicopter lure.
Yep.
They had, who the hell was the banjo minnow? Was that Bill Dance?
That one, I don't think that one was Bill Dance. He was the dancing eel. That was
the dancing, but. I don't remember that. Maybe nobody was associated with it. I think somebody was. But in the helicopter lure was Roland Martin.
Yep.
And if you listen to anything about BASS and the history of BASS, everybody says KVD, Kevin Van Dam, is the greatest angler ever. Mm-hmm. And he's won the most. But if you listen to Ken Dukes, who is the whatever shaman, whatever you want to call it, of BASS, he will tell you that Roland Martin is the most dominant bass fisherman to have ever walked the face of this earth. And you can go back and look at the stats to look at it. Mm-hmm. And so for him to have that lure, it was kind of a big deal. And I saw grown-ass men fishing helicopter lure.
Oh, yeah.
And I had both of them. I taught my mama and daddy into buying me those. Now, I don't think I ever caught a fish on the banjo minnow that I can remember. But I did catch fish on the helicopter lure.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say that those, and I don't, obviously I had a 12-year hiatus, so I don't know what happened in between 2009 and that, but I don't think you quite have that gimmicky part like you did then. Now the gimmicks, so these spider lures and some of these lures that come out, these Pokemon lures are a good example.
Yep.
You've got a YouTuber that's going to go out there and catch a damn 6-pound fish on this fucking Pokemon lure, and they're probably going to get 500,000 or 1 million views on it.
Yeah. This year, a real popular one was the the Chapo beaver lure? Like there's a topwater beaver prop.
Well, yeah, because the Champlain, the Hobie BOS Champlain winner won it on the beaver.
He did? Really?
Yeah, because with smallmouth, and he threw it because it was the heaviest top water he had. Because the waves were so damn big, he said it was the heaviest top lure he had that would stay in the water.
Yep.
So but still, it's not pay-per-view, but it's not the, those are showing up on the shelves, but there's not a commercial 1 hour TV show on Outdoor Channel like when the helicopter lures coming out. On a Saturday morning, that helicopter lure program for 30 minutes, I think it was, would show like 6 times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was all over the place.
Getting that. But they make these lures because they know there's going to be some YouTuber that's going to go out there and get 500,000 views, and then everybody and their mama's going to be going to get it. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, lures are, I'm very basic with my lure selection.
It's so funny too when it comes to personalities in the fishing industry and the community just in general. Like you look at like Bill Dance and Babe Winkleman and Jimmy Houston and basically anybody who's got Roland Martin, anybody who's going to put their name attached to some kind of a product, like that really does a lot. It was an episode of Tackle Talk, which is another fishing podcast I really, really enjoy a lot. And Andrew Hayes was lucky enough to get Bill Dance on the show. And he had Bill on, and he asked Bill, he said, what's the one thing that, was always like that you find it's most frustrating, or that you stress over most, in your career? And he was like, it was just providing people with value to the the content we'd put out. We'd put out episodes of shows, and I just wanted to make sure that there was enough value in there. And it all clicked in that moment when he said that. I was like, holy cow, Bill Dance is an influencer. Like, we all think that this influencer thing is new. It's not new. It's been happening for the longest time. The only thing that's changed is the platform. Instead of it being, the Outdoor Channel or late night infomercials on whatever network you're watching and the occasional commercial, now you've got influencers from all different types. And because you've got the audience that you can reach now, you have folks out there that are endorsing a product, and it's hitting a niche audience because they'll see somebody and they'll say, wow, they're just like me in this sense. They're not a, check winning tournament angler that I can't relate to as a fisherman. This is somebody who's going out and fishing ponds in their neighborhood, so it's like, it's really kind of amazing when you think about it. So, I mean, I kind of expect to see a lot more BS from the fishing industry as far as other, I don't even want to call them trends necessarily, but it's sort of outlandish or extreme lures. There was one this summer that I saw. It was a cicada, a topwater cicada. And I think it was from Lunker Hunt, actually, now that I think about it. And it's like, so the cicada hatch is what? Is it 17 years?
Yeah, and we were supposed to get our 17-year hatch down here, and I probably heard and saw less cicadas this year than I have in forever.
So if you didn't buy your cicada lure this year in your area where that hatch is supposed to be, get it and put it in your box for 17 years from now, because maybe that next hatch, it just blows my mind. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in a lot of situations fishing, bass fishing, they're opportunistic, and a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, you could have thrown a pink, a blue, a green pumpkin, whatever, any kind of lure.
Yeah.
You could have thrown a lot of fish you catch. You could have thrown anything.
Yeah.
As long as it hit the speed and the depth that fish wanted or was at, they would have bit it. It didn't matter of the color, the size, or anything like that. If it matched the speed and the depth, the depth that the fish was at, the speed that the fish wanted it would hit it. And so that's why in the wintertime, you slow down because the damn fish is cold-blooded.
Yeah.
It ain't going nowhere fast.
It's true.
So, you finesse, but you still get reaction bites. I mean, if you think about having that blade bait and you pop it up real fast and it flutters back down, if it pops up real fast right in the face of a fish, you're going to bite it.
Yep.
If it flutters down and lands right in front of the face of that fish, if it's at the right depth and speed of that fish, they're going to bite it. So, I mean, it's just, the lures are, I'm not a professional fish angler either, or fisher. And so those guys are at a different damn level. It's like playing from college football to the NFL is a whole different damn game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, people don't realize the mental aspect and these small things that professional athletes do to get an edge. And those are the ones who are the winners. I mean, there are times where the different baits matter. But damn, you got to be dialed in like a motherfucker.
Yeah, you do.
To understand that, and 99.9 repeating % of anglers aren't that dialed in.
No, it's true.
You look at the handful of that are fishing professionally versus the thousands of handfuls that want to fish professionally, and there's a reason why these guys are on a tour and the rest of us ain't.
No, you're 100% right.
From a kayak, I'm talking about from the kayak side, and we can go all day about the top anglers and the kayaks by looking at the things. But those folks that win regularly and those folks that are on the professional level, they have a different mentality. They see things other folks don't see.
Oh yeah, I agree. It was recently I had heard somebody had put it in a way that made a lot of sense, that putting the wrong bait in front in a high percentage area, like a spot that's a fishy spot, is better than throwing the right bait in the wrong spot.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, we do. Yeah. We spend a lot of time worrying about matching colors, and we spend a lot of time about playing around with like specific presentations. But I don't know. I think that there's just something to be said about the way that you can as long as you put a bait in it, like you said. Like I just saw something last night talking about jigs, about different rates of how fast they fall. When you select a jig, a quarter, to maybe a 3/8 or even like a 3/4 ounce. Like at different parts of the year, there's you want that to fall faster for a reaction bite. Because that's what that's where their metabolism is. That's they're moving quicker. They're active. It just blows my mind. It's like the way some people just they sort of panic when it comes to like, they're biting on June bug and I don't have anything that we'll throw black and blue. You know what I mean?
Oh hell yeah! Look, if I go to buy my yum dingers and they're out of June bug, I'm buying electric blue, black and blue. I'm buying something. Yeah. It don't matter. If I ain't buying if they're out of my green pumpkin, red flake, I'm buying the blue flake. I don't. I mean, that's what it is. Have you ever heard of Buck Perry?
Buck Perry?
Buck Perry.
Oh, Buck Perry. I'm like, no.
Have you ever heard of Don Dixon?
Don Dixon, I think I've heard.
Okay, so Buck Perry is from North Carolina here, and he is the godfather of offshore fishing.
Okay.
So, like in the 40s, he started offshore fishing when nobody else did. He created this spoon plug, and he was doing all this with nothing more than a flasher, a depth finder. It was no fish finder; it was a depth finder. Yeah, but anyway, one of the things that listening to Don Dixon and studying Buck Perry is Buck Perry said in his North Carolina voice, you can't catch fish where fish ain't.
But that's 100% accurate.
And so, one of the things you'll hear people ask a lot of times, would you rather, I can't remember the damn question specifically, but, they ask, would you rather, I can't remember. I want to know where the fish are.
That's what my goal was for this year, is to get better at finding fish.
That's right. Because you can't catch fish where fish ain't. Mm-hmm. And so there's where the technology that we have right now and I don't call them fish finders. I call them depth finders or sonar, whatever you want to call them. Like that gives us, first of all, it shows us structure. And if you understand fish behavior, we can at least find structure and cover.
Yeah.
That allows us to make informed decisions. Now, with side imaging and down imaging and panoptics and live scope, you can actually see the fish now.
Yep.
So this shit has changed a lot. Like, you don't have to spend all this time looking for a good spot. Now you can find a good spot and run over it and say, well, shit, I don't see no damn fish. So what do? You go to the next damn spot. And it's hard in a kayak. In the last month, I've been working on it because that's not how I used to fish.
Yeah.
And I'm putting in on average 10 miles a day pedaling because I'm trying to learn. Because look, down here, at least where I am, and at least fishing Sharon Harris and these other lakes we got around here, there's no grass. There's very little to no grass. And so you have to find fish on structure or on brush piles. And as the summer heats up, they're only going to get deeper.
It's true.
And if you didn't put the brush pile there, you don't know it's there unless you can see it.
That's exactly. It's so funny, man. I was fishing this one pond Saturday with my buddy. And we went to this one spot that I just caught my latest PB largemouth at, and they're doing construction, and I think they're adding parking or something, and we weren't able to get in at that launch. So there's a place that we had gone by before, and neither one of us had ever fished it. It has a reputation for just a bunch of dinks. I think honestly, it's just like a stunted population. I think it's got to be cleared out a little bit.
Sounds like you need to be eating some largemouth bass.
That's what I'm saying. Although at the same time, I've also heard that water is really nasty. Like, I don't know necessarily what it's polluted with per se, but I've heard don't eat anything out of there.
Heavy metals should be the only thing you're worried about, and they sink to the bottom. So as long as you ain't eating the turtles, you should be good. Yeah,
that's also a good point. So we get there, and I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so I don't know if this is really. We have lots of grass up here. We've got, which can make it a whole other challenge. But I feel like when folks say that they've got a grassy pond, that leaves a whole lot up to interpretation. Like, there are spots where I fish regularly where the grass is so thick that it's all matted up on top, and underneath you have these holes where you'll get bass will collect underneath. So a punch and rig, if you're going to get into the water column at all, is great. Frogs obviously work wonderful. Anything topwater that's weedless, you can pop that over there. Buzz toads are great. And then in between, if you can throw something like a fluke or a Senko or even a swim jig, you can get them there depending on the time of year. Well, we get over this one spot, and I do what, Sean the Fisherman, if he has taught me one thing, it is this. When you're going to a body of water, look at the map. Look at the damn map. So I went and I Googled that pond, and I found a DCR there. I found the map, and I found out that this, although it has a lot of quick drop-offs that are between off the bank, it'll get to about 5 and then drop to 10 real quick. It'll go for 15 for a while. most of this pond, I think, is about 15 feet deep. There's one hole that goes with a big drop off to 25, and then it gets to the deepest at 30. And I'm not much of an offshore fisherman at all, but it's one of those things that's another piece of the puzzle that I want to go and sort of figure out. So we're fishing along the bank. We're fishing shallow, and he was fishing topwater, had a couple of caught a couple, I think, on a whopper plopper. I had caught 5 of them on a fluke. Just, moving it quickly, just soft jerk bait, just moving it through the grass. And I'd caught about 5, and I was starting to get a little bit bored. I'm like, there's got to be big fish in here. Maybe they're the ones that are out deep. So I used my GPS. I put myself basically right in that pocket where it was 30 feet deep. And I took, I wasn't about to throw a rattle trap because I didn't know what was down there. So I'm like, I don't want to get anything hung up or anything. So I threw a 1/2 ounce swinging football head jig with a big swim bait, a big exo swim. Pop that sucker down there, and I'm dragging it along the bottom, give it a rip, let it sink back down to the bottom, moving along, pop it again, nothing. But I tried, I think that's ultimately what it is. And that's sort of one of the things I'm waiting on, getting my new kayak fully rigged up with some of these tools so that I can see the structure that's down there. And now I'm not just looking at, all right, I know I've got this 30-foot, hole that I can fish, but is there any timber down there? Is there a rock pile? Is there something that I can target that, is going to offset that maybe some of these bass are going to, associate with, or sort of post up against, something like that. It's just, it blows my mind. There's so much shit to learn,
There is, but you can't overwhelm yourself with so much shit. Like if I could tell anybody the one thing to learn is just the basic movements of a fish.
Yeah.
If you just figure that out, the baits and those little intricacies will come to it. And, most of us aren't fishing for a living. So we don't have to worry about, is our flet blue or red in our green pumpkin. Another thing, hey, I want you to go check out Buck Perry and Spoon Plugging. Now, Don Dixon, Dickson, has a bunch of YouTube videos. Check those out. It doesn't necessarily correlate 100% to kayak fishing because they do a lot of trolling, but the movements of fish and the locations of fish on structure is super important. But, what Buck Perry said was the home of the fish is deep water. And it's either the deepest water in the lake or the deepest water in the area.
Yeah.
So if you're fishing let's say you're fishing a 15-acre pond, the home of the fish is going to be the deepest area of the pond, and they're going to move up once or twice a day to go, feed in certain areas. And now, there's a lot of circumstances to how shallow they move up, but there's a shitload to learn. First is how to cast. Second is how to tie the most simple knot that you can tie that don't slip. And then third is what are the fish you're fishing for do?
Yeah.
And you learn those 3 things. The other shit's easy to learn.
Oh yeah. They say the devil's in the details, and I think that's true. You get too tied up with like colors or, weights or whatever that situation might be, I think that third one that you said about learning what the fish do, like figuring out that pattern. Well, it's this time of year. This is what the weather's doing. How does this associate to how the fish are going to behave? And I think that's way more critical than most people give credit to. As far as like, yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what, man, knot tying was one of the things that made, when I started fishing again in 2012, I would set the hook on every single log or rock I bumped constantly. And I would end up coming back with this little curly end on my, and I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I've been tying fisherman's knots since I was like 7 years old. Did I forget? I mean, it's possible. A lot of shit has happened in my life. I very well may have forgot some of these knots, but I went And I took some time, and it was Sean the fisherman that was like, you know what, man, the knot you really want to learn and get down is the Palomar knot. He's like, it's so strong. And it's great. So I started with it, and because I used to fish for catfish primarily. Like that was my focus until I really got into using artificial baits and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would tie a Palomar knot, and it got to the point where I would be out fishing for catfish, and I wouldn't turn my headlamp on. I could tie the knot in the dark, and it would be solid, you know. And then the next thing for me was then to start with other knots for like leaders and stuff like that, and get into that. So you're right. I feel like, you know, you once you can figure out how to cast and put your bait in the area that you're targeting, you're leaps and bounds ahead of the time. Now, if your bait's not going to budge, but now it's just the next step is you got to know like what's happening with these fish. Where can you find them? And I think people over mystify that, you know.
Yeah. So tell me your journey into bass fishing and in kayak bass fishing, because bass fishing is its own little animal, and
Definitely.
then when you add in, you had shore fishing from the shore, and fishing from a John boat or bass boat, you know, something that's. And John boats, we get into semantics, John boats, kayaks, because they're pretty similar.
Yep.
But in your journey in bass fishing, what has been the one thing that has probably been looking back on it now, hindsight 2020? What is it now that you wish you could have learned first? Like, what's the one thing that you were like, damn, I should have focused on this first, thinking back now?
I would say honestly, for me, I think a lot of it has to do with weather patterns and seasonal changes. As far as finding fish, you know, that so I feel like I could have definitely stood to, because I don't think that for me anyway, it was necessarily about the baits, or about any one necessary skill per se. But I think that it weighs in so much. It can define an angler. So, you know, the big thing I feel like I'm playing a lot of catch up now. You know, I'm looking at things like weather, moon phase, you know, pressure, all of these elements that kind of come into where I can find the fish. So I think and I might be biased in saying that. Now, as far as like factoring in methods of fishing, it's tough because I'm still a bank fisherman.
Yeah. Well, hold on before you get into there.
Yep.
So the weather, the moon patterns, barometric pressure, what do those all affect of the fish?
Well, mainly, I think they mainly affect the behavior.
The movement, right?
Yeah, the movement. The pattern.
What it comes down to, you're talking about three major factors of the movement of fish.
Yeah.
Weather is a huge factor. Fish are 50 times more sensitive to light than us. Fish have great eyesight. They just can't see far. And so a sunny day, fish don't want to be in the sun, not necessarily because of the ambush side of it, but because the light affects them a lot more.
Yep.
And so pressure and water level kind of fit in the same thing. You know, if you're in your house, you got a 10-foot ceiling and some bitch falls to 7 foot.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck's going on right here?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But that all affects how that fish moves, how shallow they move, how deep they move.
Yep.
Everywhere in between. So those are three main factors of fish movement. So what it sounds like to me is like fish movement. Where the fuck are the fish?
That's exactly it. Like that's exactly
the most important thing. But probably, where did you start? Rods, reels,
exactly.
Lures. How did you spend a lot of time trying to learn all these fucking new knots?
You know, now I found what I did was I went back to what I thought I had mastered when I was younger, you know, for fishing with my father. I didn't really, you know, I honestly, it's funny little story. I only learned how to tie leader knots because I had to, because I was out fishing, I was out on the bank and I was having a great day and I snapped off whatever I was fishing with and I didn't have enough line on my enough line in my bag to re-spool everything. So I'm just like, I'm going to tie a joiner knot. We're going to make this happen, you know? So what I think was an Albright knot, that I tied on that day. And then I started fishing with that, and I was like, and then, you know, after I'll grab another spool and I'll re-spool the whole reel, and we'll be good. I'll start fresh. And I didn't. And I fished, I think, the next 2 or 3 outings with it just like that. And I was like, okay, this knot is actually going out past my guides, and I'm catching fish, and I'm getting hung up, and I'm, you know, snapping my line, and I'm freeing it up. I'm like, all right, maybe there's a little bit more to this. Maybe I have to put some. So I you know, played around with different leader knots, the FG knot, and the one that I like now is a double uni. It's just my favorite, you know. It's just the one I like to tie the most for leader knots. And like, that's something I wish I would have put more time into, you know, like the skills, that kind of thing. But that's, you know, I never did. I was like, yeah, I'm going to tie with this one knot, and that's what I'm going to use. And that's how, then I stumbled on the Palomar, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm not a great knot tire. I really don't tie a lot of leaders. I mean, you know, I'm water clarity down here. If I'm fishing with braid, I got fucking braid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm rolling with. And, you know, when times come down and I'm looking at 20, 30 feet of visibility, sure, I can tie it, I'll tie it. But, you know, all those knots don't matter. The reels don't matter. The rods don't matter. You know, none of that shit matters unless you know where fish is. And so you were talking about being primarily a bank fisherman
initially, and still it's a big passion. Yeah.
Damn the fisherman. We got to get rid of the men part of it. Just fish or angler. We ain't huntermen.
Well, it's true. Anyway, we're not huntermen.
So, you know, from a bank angler, you'll see bank anglers catch some huge fish. In this area, and I'm sure in your area, some of the YouTubers around here are fishing off the bank, and they are catching giants.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is they're throwing, like, they're hitting those key areas. Now, they're not catching a lot because they can't, you can only cast where you can cast on the bank, right?
Yeah.
And you have all these obstructions. But they're fishing, they're able to get, they dial in on an area. There's a reason why that path is to that specific spot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, there's where a patience side comes into it, and to understand what you're throwing at. You know, I mean, and a part of it too is so many anglers and boats fish from deep to shallow. So they sit in 20 foot of water, throw in 10 and reel back, right?
Yep.
So when you're thinking about fishing a swing head, a jig, a crankbait, stuff like that, those are bottom contact baits. You want them to hit and be in bottom contact. That's where you're throwing those types of baits.
Sure.
Take your ass to 5 foot of water, throw it in a 20 and reel it back, and you're hitting bottom contact
all the
whole
time. Yeah, it's so much easier.
It's the bank fishing side of it. And if you take that from bank fishing, you see some of the fish they catch. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're bringing this bait from deep to shallow, so they're maintaining bottom contact a lot more.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't always work, but in general, if you're trying to grind a 6XD into some rock or mud, fish the other way.
Yeah.
Know where your fish, your contact point is, and fish shallow. Try that. I mean, That's just another technique that could help into after you've located fish, getting them to bite.
I've heard that with jig fishing is the same way, you know, where you're, you know, fishing from the deep up shallow, you have a much easier time of keeping that contact than if you're going the other way and having to wait for it to drop, you know. I mean, it's crazy. It's funny though, Paul, because like we're talking about knowing where the fish are and learning this stuff. And, you know, this is one of the things that I wish I would have, when I caught my PB, this was last April. I was out with Chris Dabari, And he had never bank fit. He's like, yeah, maybe we'll launch the boat. I was like, well, this one spot that I go, I usually bank fish. And I go, let's give it a go. And he says, okay, let's do it. So we meet up at this one spot. We walk out in this area, and I said, the reason why I want to fish this bank is for this reason, because this is the bank that's going to get the sun first. And it's April. I mean, it's cold. It's pre-spawn up here at this point. And I told him, I said, this is where the warmest water is going to be found. So I feel like it's a better percentage of, as far as potential where we'll actually find fish. Yeah. And what I had done was I was fishing a jerkbait, and it was just one of these things, putting the pieces together of like, all right, so I think the fish are going to be here. I got to search for them, but it's cold water. I don't want to be moving this bait too quickly. So what I'm going to do is use a suspending jerkbait, keep it up off the bottom, and just work it real slow. And no shit, I almost caught almost a 7-pounder that day. And I was just like, get the hell out of here. This is amazing. And it's like Sean has like a little like bell in his ear. He's just like, oh, I got to call Bobby. He calls me. I'm like, yeah, I got a fish to release, man. I got to go. And I'm telling him, and I was like, this is exactly it. Like, just again, like knowing the environment, knowing that time of year where you're going to find that. I think that is probably the most important thing somebody can learn, because somebody, I forget who was it, had just said it today. They had made some kind of a comment about their gear, saying, my $80 Walmart rods will catch as many fish as somebody's $200 plus rods or something. And while I have my own issues with that statement, like the potential to catch those fish is there if you can put that bait in the spot where the fish are.
Yeah, when it comes down to gear, the majority of my rods and reels are the ones that I bought in the early 2000s.
Yep.
So they're old as shit. Now I've upgraded a couple reels.
Oh yeah.
And
shit gets worn out. It happens.
Yeah, it does. Now I've taken care of my stuff, and they're still in good shape. When you get down to it, there are advantages of throwing a 7.3 versus a 7 foot.
Yep.
Now, the majority of us ain't in a position to be worried about fucking 3 inches.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is the $40 Black Max gonna suffice for the majority of anglers? 99% of us, yes.
Yeah.
You can make that shit work and work great. So it's the keeping up with the Joneses when it comes to the gear. And I'm not talking about baits at this point either, but the gear. What it comes down to is you have to find the fish, and you got to put the bait down there, and you could do that shit with a Zebco 33. Yep. You could do it with a $500 Shimano reel and a $600 rod. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just have to be able to put it down there. Now, the intricacies come into that when you're fishing for $300,000.
Exactly. Well, and also
we ain't fishing with no Black Max.
Yeah.
And a $40 pole from Walmart. I mean, that's there's just a whole different level of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned like the Black Max specifically, because I have 2 of them that I have as like just backup reels, and this year my plan was I was going to put together basically a rod for search baits, and this was the first time I had ever bought a medium power rod ever. Everything I've used was medium heavy, and then eventually I started buying a couple of heavy sticks for punching rigs and my frogging stick and stuff like that. And even I was throwing jigs on a heavy rod for quite a while, and I realized I actually prefer throwing a jig on a medium heavy more often than not, in most situations. And I was like, all right, so we'll give this a go, and that's what I was using. I was using that medium power rod with a jerk bait. And I needed a slow reel because all of my, newer reels, I've been buying high-speed reels, 7 and 8 speeds, things like that. Just because I needed to, pick up some line and, whatever. So my biggest sort of thing was I'll just use one of these Black Maxes for the time being, and it does the job great. I think when it comes to like gear, there's and specifically with rods, there's sensitivity that can be very different, which can, again, like you're saying, like if you're looking for a $300 check in a tournament, you're going to spend a few $100s on that rod so that you're going to feel every single little thing. Same thing could be said for using tungsten as opposed to lead, so that you can detect, things on the bottom a little bit more. And there's, that kind of comes with it. But the other thing too is like, for me, it's warranty and service. And while like the retailer, if you're buying your gear at Walmart and stuff and something goes to hell, Walmart has enough buying power to be able to be like, just get another one. It's fine. Who cares? They'll just do it.
$40.
And honestly, the manufacturer may not even be aware of it. The manufacturer may have actually made specialty products for them so that way they could just do that, just throw them away, because they have more money than they know what to do with. But if you buy, like quality gear, like let's say you buy a Dobbins rod, or you buy, a high-end, like an Arc Invoker or something, and something happens, the beauty about having, you make that investment, if you have a problem with it, I think it's more of like just assumed, but a company where you've made that kind of investment, they'll back that product directly. You buy a Shimano reel and you have an issue. My Shimano my Corrado took a drink, a significant drink, and I messed up a bunch of gears, got some sand in there, cleaned it out the best I could, and it was only like 2 months into using it. And I contacted customer support, and they sent me some replacement stuff. And I'm like, that's great. They even sent me the oil so I could go and clean it all up. I'm like, that's awesome. It's just didn't cost me a thing. But it's like part of what you're paying for with that is. So that's when I say like I've got issues with that statement about like $80 rods versus whatever. That's sort of where that comes from. It's like there's more than just the reason. There's sensitivity in things, obviously. But but
quality comes into play with how often are you going to be using it. If you're somebody going fishing once a month, then that $80 combo at Walmart is going to be well sufficient for you.
For sure.
If you're somebody like me that's going fishing 3 or 4 times a week, and let's say it's not even competitive fishing, it's just going out to fish just to fish.
But you're out there that often,
yeah. There's a quality issue about how often do I have to replace this, and am I missing fish or not feeling fish? And then you get the folks that are competing at whatever, it doesn't matter what level, non-professional level competition, then there's a different level of that. And it comes into play. Now you're getting the customer service, it's the wear and tear. But then you get in these folks fishing for $100,000 in the professional side. First of all, they ain't buying their shit.
No.
Unless it's a brand that they ain't sponsored by, then they probably might be buying it to be anonymous. But they're not buying theirs. But that's a different level there too. I mean, you're getting stuff that the average person and the above average person isn't privy to. You're getting prototypical stuff that a lot of us aren't getting. So it's a whole different level when you get into what the pros are using, and the majority, for the most part. But when you get into the average competitive angler, somebody that's on the water 3 to 4 times a week, or a guide that is providing gear who's on the water every day of the week.
Yep.
Shit, quality matters then from a standpoint of customer service, as you said. But how often do I have to rebuild or replace?
Yeah.
Because if you're competitive fishing and if you're guiding, that expense, like, how do I make my money back on that?
Oh, definitely.
And if you can spend $400 on a reel that you have to replace every 2 years, and you made $2,000, that's a good investment versus buying a Black Max that you got to replace
every 3 trips, maybe. Yeah.
But that's time. That now we get into you're a business owner. I'm a business owner.
Yep.
Now you get into now I got to go buy another one. It's my time. It's all this. There's all those factors into it. But it depends on what level you're at. Starting off, buy the shit you can afford. That's what you hear about kayak fishing. What kayak do I need? what the hell kayak can you afford right now? What's a $250 Walmart one? Well, look, how long will it get you? How long will it take you to get to the $500 field, wilderness system, whatever those kayaks are, so that you get a kayak that isn't going to make you hate fucking
kayak fishing. Yeah.
And so that's what it all gets down to. But the companies are out here to sell shit.
Oh, for sure.
And so, a lot of people get caught up into the whole, that whole marketing scheme and where stuff is. But that's a great thing about social media, even though there's a lot of bad to it. People will ask questions and people give feedback that matters, on that side. So when you get to talking about gear in general, lures and gear and everything as a whole, get what you can afford and work up from there. But you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. Random question for you. Favorite chicken joint? And the caveat is...
So I'm Bo. I'm from North Carolina. I'm going to have to say Bojangles.
Absolutely, man. Respect.
Born and raised Bojangles from North Carolina, and the shit's delicious.
It is fantastic. First experience I ever had with Bojangles was for breakfast. We were going to Myrtle Beach. We drove from Mass to South Carolina, and we had breakfast at Bojangles, and I was like, "This is fantastic." And then on the way home, I said, let's grab lunch, and we did the fried chicken meal proper, and it was wow. And I'm a Popeyes guy generally. Now crispy crunchy is starting to become like sort of the holy grail. Locally, we have that. I wish we'd get a Bojangles up here, though. Holy cow!
Look, Bojangles didn't go south of Jackson. Or no, they used to didn't go south of Savannah, Georgia. There were no Bojangles south of Savannah, Georgia. And I'm pretty sure this would have been in the early 2000s, too, not that long ago, like 2007. I'm pretty sure Bojangles wasn't north of the North Carolina line.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you can get them.
Crazy, man. But they here now, and they delicious. I take Bojangles over Popeyes any day. Even though Popeyes got good chicken now. Don't get me wrong, Bojangles better.
Bojangles is, man, they deliver. Biscuits, man, holy shit.
Oh, my God, Bo. I mean, them better than sex biscuits sometimes.
When I'm out fishing, for me, a big thing is, like, the right people with you can make or break a trip. I could go out and not catch a fish, not get a single bite. But if I'm with the right people, it's going to be an absolute great time. When you go out, or I should say, rather, what's your top 3 list of people you would love to fish with? And they can be living or dead.
But Bo, I don't like to fish with nobody.
Oh, really? You're solo? That's your deal?
I just last week I went fishing with a buddy on this bass boat. We had a good time. Yep. But I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, like if I could just go fish with anybody, it'd be my daddy.
Yep.
It'd be my grandpa.
Yep.
Even though my grandpa didn't give a shit about, like, he ain't like to fish. He wanted to play golf.
Exactly, yeah.
He used to take me golfing all the time, and obviously down here in South Carolina, all golf courses got ponds everywhere. I used to drive the cart. I didn't even play golf. I was too young.
Yeah.
He was out here drinking, playing golf. I always wanted to fish, and one day I tried to sneak a fishing pole on the golf course, and he got all mad. But anyway, so those two, because that's my origins.
Yeah.
I can still fish with my daddy. He's still alive. Been trying to go fishing all year. And then the other one's, man, is Ike and Ellie. I want to go fishing with Ike because it is like, when you talk about passion, but from that aspect, the passion, but goddamn, I want to be in the fucking boat with somebody that's running up and down the side for a 2-pound. Like,
he's a wild man.
I want to experience that shit.
Yep.
And I want to experience Ike losing a fish in the boat and me being, motherfucker, you should have got him in there quicker. Like, he's just a personality, and I love personalities, and folks like him are just, they're just on a different level.
Yep. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. He is his own sort of entity, and yeah. I mean, you say Ike and people know.
And he's a fucking New Jersey angler.
Yeah.
I mean, there ain't many of him around.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it's true.
Or been around.
It's very true. What's your goal for fishing? Like in the next 5 to 10 years, where would you like to see it take you?
Bo, my goal for fishing is to fish, and wherever it takes me, it takes me. I want to start next year. I plan to start doing some national events, but in the 5 years, if you held a gun to my head and said make a goal, I would tell you right now that I want my son to wake up at 3:00 in the morning with me and us have our kayaks loaded and go.
Yep.
That's my goal.
Yep.
From just fishing standpoint. Now, if he doesn't want to do it, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But I'm just gonna fish, and I don't think I'll ever make a living on fishing.
Yeah.
But I think I can go out and compete and have a good time and fulfill that competitive nature.
Oh yeah.
I need to fish. So the only goal I would have is that it's just me and my son going out and doing that together.
That's totally honorable, man. I think that's the best. And you're setting down like the ideal example. You're getting out there, giving it your all. I guarantee at some point, it might not be for years, he's going to get the bug and he's going to be like, "Let's go, Dad. Come on, let's go."
He might, and if he doesn't, that's how it is. I'm still going to take my ass fishing.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Absolutely. Hey, he might end up being a golfer. You never know.
Look, I told him
Gramps,
Yeah, he has two options. He ain't old enough yet, but he has two options. He's going to play sports or work. He can do both, but he has to do one or the other.
Yeah. Very nice. Now, when have you ever traveled anywhere specifically for fishing?
No.
Now, is there
I've never been that lucky to travel. Now, next year, hopefully, I get to do that. I want to. That's the plan. But no, I grew up fishing where I lived, and I was lucky in that, and I had access to bodies of water, ponds that most other people didn't, and I took advantage of that and fished those areas. But no, I've never had a destination fishing trip. I take that back. I went. Some buddies took me deep sea fishing, offshore fishing, deep sea fishing.
Nice.
Down off of Charleston for my bachelor's party.
Oh, that's awesome. That can be a real good time too.
It was. I puked the first half of it, and then caught fish after that. So I just learned from my cousin and one of my friends that you needed to be drunk the night before, but instead of stopping drinking, you need to wake up and start drinking again.
Yep. That's the way.
Because they were the only two that didn't get sick, and they just didn't quit drinking. And nobody fucking told me.
I've been drunk since yesterday. Oh, well, what about like a bucket list place? Like, where is there a body of water, a lake, or an ocean, or a pond, or anything that you're like, I gotta fish this spot?
I don't have one. You could call me up and be like, "Hey, Paul, I'm in Durham, which is 2 miles away, and my buddy has a farm pond here. Come fish." I'm like, "Yeah, if I could be there, I'd be there."
Yeah.
I don't have. I'm not a goal type person.
Gotcha.
I'm fucking your segment up.
No,
but I ain't a goal or
cool.
a bucket list type person. If I get the opportunity to go somewhere, I'm going to go, and I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. If it's Santee Cooper, I've catfished there.
Yep.
Or if it's Chickamauga or wherever. Like I'm a in the moment kind of person. Like I don't really try to project, and I enjoy where I am and what I'm doing at that point in time. And so that's what I look forward to. If I can't go to damn so-and-so lake next year, I don't care. But I get to go to, Chickamauga instead of Lake Fork. I'm going to be happy as fuck at Chickamauga. And I'm not even, Lake Fork never happened. I can't miss what I never had.
Well, it's so funny. There's, it had come around, somebody had compared the difference between Sean and I as saying like Sean, when he's out fishing, he's on a mission, Sean's a military guy. He's like very regimented. And he's super competitive. While I like to dip my finger into the tournament game a little bit, I am more like I just fish. That's just what I do. Sometimes I just don't care about competition, or that's just not where my head is. There's more important things for me. And this one comparison came along and said, Sean's journey for fishing is more of a mission. Mine is more of an adventure. And I think that that's where you and I are kind of alike, where I may have some places that I would love to go fish, like Lake Champlain, but that's for different reasons. Like my father used to go and do fishing trips every fall with a bunch of his buddies up there. They have a great time, drink a ridiculous amount of beer, catch a bunch of pike, smoke some pike. It's delicious. You should try it. It's fantastic.
Sounds good. Jackfish.
Yeah.
We call them jackfish.
So they would go and do all this. And so I've always been like, yeah, well, that's like the biggest big lake near me, in the Northeast. I'm like, I would definitely love to go and, fish Champlain, and I'll have the chance to go and do that with them. I'm looking forward to it this year. But it's like, at the same time, when opportunities just kind of pop up and somebody says, hey, we're going to go fish, this lake, and I've never been. And, even better is when it's one of these situations, I get a phone call from, one of my buddies that's got a boat, and they're like, hey, let's go. And I'm just like, let's go indeed.
Yeah, the best boat to have is when your buddy has a boat, because fucking boats suck.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point with that. Like for me, I want to compete. Like I want to go. Yeah. Like I have been in some type of monthly tournament from, I think, February on, or I have been fishing some kind of competitive circuit since January. And the monthlies provide that for me when I'm going out to try new baits or, go practice this and that. Like, I might not catch shit for the whole month, but by golly, if I do catch something, I want to be able to submit it to beat somebody. I don't care if I catch one fish and I beat 30 other people that can catch nothing. I beat them at least.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if an opportunity arises to me to go to Champlain, heck yeah, I want to go.
You're going to do it, yeah.
But I'm not just going to go pick my happy ass up and drive up the Champlain to go fish.
Yep.
Now, if there's a tournament and I'm going to fish Champlain, then I'm going to, if I can go, I can go.
Yep.
But I fish to win.
Yeah.
Is a hashtag that I fish to win. I don't necessarily fun fish. It's hard to say that because people take that shit wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm in the monthly tournaments because when I go out and fish, I need to have a fucking purpose.
Yeah, I get that.
And if my family was struggling to eat, I would go fish to feed us.
Yeah, exactly.
But that ain't the case. So I'm going to whoop somebody's ass. I don't care whose it is. I'm going to whoop somebody's ass. So I'm going out there to fish to whoop somebody's ass.
That's awesome, man. I love it. So we're going to wrap up with the two main questions that I put out here for all of these interviews. There's two stories that I'm looking for. One of those stories is like the moment where you were out fishing and you're just the most proud of. For whatever reason, it might have had to do with a specific catch. It might have been a new species. It might have been a PB. Whatever the situation, it could have just been something that happened on the water and you're like, oh, wow, this crazy thing happened and this is how we dealt with it and it was, amazing. So like an amazing story. And then the other story I need from you is like that biggest sort of like that type moment, and no angler has a shortage of those moments to list. Everybody's got them.
I would say the most proud was I was fishing. It's a larger pond. It's about 12, 15 acres or so where I grew up, and it's a private pond. That means people get to fish it, and I grew up fishing there. And in 2008, I was there with a coworker of mine, and I caught leading up to that summer, I'd taken few other people there fishing 4 or 5 times, and we were catching 5 and 6 and 7 pound bass left and right. Now, this ain't no managed lake. I mean, this is not like a honey hole managed lake. Yeah. It's just a damn pond that's got fish in it. And anyway, I took another guy there. It was August. It was fall. And the time before, I had thrown a topwater bass and missed it. The guy threw behind me, 7.5 pound bass on a spinnerbait, which had been my personal best. And so I wasn't mad. I was like, hell yeah, man, good job.
Yeah.
But when we were fishing, I was there with my buddy. We were fishing. I threw it. I had a spook junior on. I threw it. I'm walking it, and the fish doesn't hit it hard. It rolls it, but the fish comes up out of the water kind of like a dolphin would, real nice and slow.
Oh, yeah.
People on the podcast can't see my hand, but imagine just a dolphin rolling out of the water all nice and slow. And I look over at my buddy, who's actually my boss, and I was like, don't you fucking throw over there. And he didn't, and I threw back over. I thought it was a carp.
Oh,
but
really?
I wanted to catch it regardless.
Yeah, of course.
Carp in this lake, but it looked like a carp. Anyway, fish came up, sucked it in, like no splash or nothing, just a kind of like a goldfish eating a piece of flake on top.
Yep.
And I hook it, and the tail comes out the water. I'm like, holy shit, that's a big fish. And we're in a John boat trolling motor. And big fish like that. And it was a lot of grass, and it's like it got wore out. Anyway, we got over to it. And I look down beside the boat, and I'm like, holy shit. And my buddy looks down outside the boat. He's supposed to be picking up the fish. He's like, holy shit. I'm like, get it. And he picks it up. It's 10-pound, 1 ounce bass.
No shit.
The biggest damn bass I've ever seen. Caught on top water. Caught on 8-pound test on a spook. It was actually a puppy, spook puppy.
Yep.
And I mean, just, to catch a bass over 10 pounds is in most areas of the country.
Yeah.
That is the thing, right? That's the Moby Dick, whatever white whale bullshit you want to get.
Yep.
So just being able to catch that, it was one of those things. I did nothing special. He could have thrown his worm over there and caught the same damn fish. It did not make me a good angler at all. But just being able to have caught that fish, that's a dream. And so that's probably my proudest moment.
That's awesome, man. Double digit. I think all anybody ever wants is to have that moment where they catch a double digit.
Here's the great thing too. This is 2008. There ain't a lot of camera phones around.
No.
At this point. I had a Palm Pilot with a fucking camera on it, and I had a scale that worked. And so I've still got the pictures of that damn holding up that 10-pound bass taken with my Palm Pilot camera.
That's awesome.
The whack 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 part comes from the same pond. Me and my daddy and Mr. Tommy, and Mr. Tommy was the guy who knew how to fish that taught my daddy, and then we always fished together.
Yep.
Well, we fished together a lot. So we were at this pond, and it was one of these days that, one of these fucking epic days. And we were keeping fish out of this pond because pond never got fish. It had a lot of fish in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a stringer, and that had like 3 5-pound fish on it. And it was one of those metal stringers that you used to pop in the lip, and then we had it on the boat. And I looked down, and the stringer was gone.
No.
Gone.
No. Oh my God.
I was sick to my stomach because, at this point in time, these were some of the biggest fish I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Of course, yeah.
5+5, between 5 and 6. It was gone, and I'm like, oh my God, it was terrible.
Oh my God.
And I blame them. I blame the 2 damn old ass men on the boat didn't secure the damn stringer good enough.
Dude, that's so funny.
I mean, could you imagine 3 5-pound bass on a fucking stringer? What the hell did that look like under the water? Like, what was going on? Because I don't know, because motherfuckers left, and it was the 2 grown ass men's fault.
I can't even believe that.
Man, that shit broke my heart. I was sick. I probably didn't fish for like 20 minutes after. I just sat, and they had my ass on a little aluminum seat in the middle of the boat. I was fishing. I couldn't fish the back of the boat or the front. I had to fish the middle.
One side or the other.
Fish was mine. It was probably my PB at the time.
Damn
and the bitch swam off with 2 other fish on a metal thing because the old men ain't secure it right.
I love that. That's freaking awesome. That's awful.
So here's the part of that story that's funny, and I never got the answer because the guy passed away. So the farmer who owned the pond, he passed away, and they're friends of the family. They owned a farm in town, and after he passed away, I was in there talking to his son Kemp, and I'll be damned.
Oh my God!
If I didn't look up on the wall, and there's a metal stringer with 3 bass on it.
Shut up! Really?
No fucking shit. And I look at Kemp, and I'm like, Kemp, what's that from? He's like, I don't have a clue. That's some of Daddy's stuff he had up there. I'm like, Kemp, dude, we were at the pond and
our stringer.
Lost 3 fish on a metal stringer that were big like that. No shit.
That is amazing.
It's crazy.
Well,
nobody knows the story.
I can't believe that. That is because that's what I thought. As soon as you said that they lost it, I'm like, okay, so you got a bunch of fish on this one metal stringer. They're all tied together.
3 big ass fish.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere fast. You know, like, did you guys take a minute to like circle around and see if you could find it?
But we drove all over that pond looking for that stringer. They was gone. I mean, they went down deep. But to see that, and this happened in 98, 99.
Yep.
And then when I saw that in this office, would have been 2007 or 2008. So it would have been about 10 years later. And nobody knew the damn story. But it's just because this man it was just, it's just one of those things. Who knows? It's just crazy.
That's just
it's just sometimes how life goes, but sure as shit.
That's hilarious, man. The fact that you can now tie that story together, both of those, Oh yeah, my dad just caught this. I don't know what this is, they're all hooked up to this one thing and he had it. And now you can fill in the blanks. That's freaking hilarious, Paul. That is amazing.
Yeah. But back then too, you didn't mount a fish without the damn fish. So how the hell they get 3 fish, 3 big ass fish on a metal stringer? Because surely that's the crazy thing, right? Is that it just back then you mounted the fucking fish.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why the 10-pound bass I caught out of there, I threw back. We took pictures and I tossed him back. I mean, so me and my daddy went fishing. Last time we got to go fishing was a couple years ago. He's got a little pond where he lives down in South Carolina. We go, old Blackwater Pond. It's botanic, sweet tea water.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't get fished a lot, but I kept a good many bass. I mean, private ponds down there, it doesn't matter. But we kept anything 14, 12 inches. Anything over that, we were catching 3 or 4 pounders left and right. It's just one of those. Again, it was one of those days that we just had it. They bit everything you throw in the water. Good fish, and he was like, "Oh my God, we throwing this big fish back." I'm like, "Hell yeah, we want that one to go make more."
Exactly.
These little 12 inchers, they good.
Yep.
We keep catching these, but it was I've probably had more than the average days of those days where you either catching giants, relatively speaking giants, or you're just catching fish on every cast. I mean, I've had a bunch of those growing up, and a lot of it had to do with the small bodies of water. You can time, you just get luckier more.
Yeah, that's a lot of it just has to do with like the bite is on. Sometimes you're right place, right time, and when they're really biting like that, it can be a lot of fun,
Oh, yeah. The more you fish, the luckier you are.
It's true. Yeah, it's definitely true. Paul, do me a favor. This is your opportunity to promote yourself a little bit. Let people know where they can find you on social media. If you have anything coming up, if you want to promote something like Bass and Brews, perhaps, good opportunity. Go ahead and do so right now, man.
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm most active on Instagram at Paul Hills, PaulHeels, just like Tar Heels, except Paul Hills, where I play football at University of North Carolina.
Nice.
And then you can find me and Alex Casernagante. I can't pronounce his last name. That's a big old long dumb name anyway. At Bass and Brews Fishing Podcast. we put out every Friday. This will be my first official week as a co-host since last week. I was the guest and co-host. And then I'd like to thank Outdoor Lighting Pros, which is a local landscaping and outdoor lighting company. Kevin's been good to me and sponsored me, and so that's awesome. Been good. And then Hooks at Hoodlums. Hey-o!
Yeah, absolutely.
I have become part of the debauchery that is Hooks at Hoodlums. I'm excited about it. And I'll tell you what, I got this hat, and my sister's like, God, that's a good-looking hat. And she don't compliment me much on my good looks anymore.
I just ordered one of those.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. And then, when I posted on Instagram this past week or last weekend, I had a couple people ask me where they could get it. So go check out the Hooks at Hoodlums because they got some good-ass gear out there.
Hell yeah. Sure. And it is. It's a family. It's a dysfunctional family, but it is an amazing family, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad it kind of brought everybody sort of together. It's really, really good.
Yep, and I want to say thanks to you for pulling me on here. I messaged you and said, hey, if you ever have an opening, put me on. And it took, we had some conundrums arise for me to get on here. This shit was supposed to be done 2 weeks ago.
It's just the Jigs and Bigs way. In a way, I'm kind of glad that it worked out the way that it did because that announcement came very recently about Bass and Brews. And I was like, this is great because, I'm a huge supporter of Alex, a massive supporter of his channel. And I'm like, yeah, this is awesome because I'm a firm believer. It's just like the Hookset way. It's like we all support each other. That's really what it's all about. You know?
And I can't remember when I found your podcast. It was a while ago. It would have been before Christmas of last year. It would have been fall of last year.
Yeah.
Because I started our new business. We started in September, and I'm on the road a good bit. So I would have found it September, October of last year, I think. And so I've been listening to y'all for a long time.
Oh, no kidding. Awesome, man.
And then, just through the flow of things and through the great World Wide Web, we were able to connect and get here. So thanks for having me on. I'll probably cut the episode off when I got on here, but I listened to all the episodes you have, and who was it? Was it Bailey that said y'all are like the morning talk show of bass fishing?
That's right.
It is true. You come on here and you don't have to listen to the whole podcast.
Yeah.
To get either the tip, or the interview. Or the fun. It's a great podcast. I listen to all of it because I'm on the damn road all the time and I enjoy it. And
I appreciate that, man.
2.5 hours through the day.
Well, and
y'all do a good job. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on here, and hopefully your people don't unsubscribe after me talking.
Oh, no, I'm sure they're going to love you. Actually, they get to hear you a lot because you are the voice of the Fuck That Guy segment open.
That's right, yes.
Which is awesome.
Fuck that guy.
So good. So good. It's amazing. It's so funny. Sean, in the episode that's actually going to drop tomorrow, he even says, he's like, there's an Easter egg at the end of it. He goes, you and online, there's a lot of this, you see people that are doing things and they're obviously putting on like a show. He's like, we're, just kind of being our stupid, goofy selves, doing stuff that we like, entertaining ourselves, and hopefully people like it. And apparently they do, which is great. But he's like, it's amazing. So, the fact that we have that open for that segment, and that segment is blown up. People love the Fuck That Guy segment. They can't get enough. And
you say what so many other people wish they could say about that guy.
It's true.
Especially as kayak anglers, we have a lot.
There's a lot of
that shit.
Oh yeah, sure. Probably more than most big boat anglers.
For sure. It can be quite sporty in the kayak.
Yeah, it can. It absolutely can. But, that's the whole thing. And then we had Chris Tabari, who voiced the Just the Tip segment, which I can't play and not laugh through.
Well, that guy is fucking amazing.
He's so amazing.
He was,
dude.
What was it? Was it 3 shows or 4 shows ago he was on?
Yeah.
It was 3 or 4 shows ago he was on because y'all announced he was the British guy, whatever.
Yep.
The
Howie.
I mean, he's like Jim Carrey being able to go in and out of character. It's amazing. That guy's super cool.
So I
don't even know it. He's the coolest guy I've never met.
So what's crazy about Chris is like he's unbelievably talented. I mean, like the vocal impressions and things.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But he's got stories. He's an amazing musician who has had the opportunity to tour the world with and meet amazing people. So what's funny is that story of I was with Chris when I caught my PB. And I'm working this jerkbait, and he's telling me a story about hanging out on the tour bus with Lemmy from Motorhead. And he's just talking about this. I guess they had this conversation about Lars from Metallica. And, I'm just like, this is unbelievable. And then all of a sudden, bang, there's this one fish. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me, man. You've got to be shitting me. This is unbelievable. Anyway, Paul, thank you so much, man, for doing this show. I really appreciate you. We're happy to have you in the Hookset Hoodlums fam. And, man, we'll catch up with you. Next time I'm down in your area, I'm hitting you up so we can fish. And we'll set up a little wager so that it's competitive. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do one of Sean the Fisherman's $1 bets.
We'll make it happen.
Hell yeah.
And if you can't bring your kayak down, I'll put you in the Walmart special, and I'll take the Hobie out, and you have to adjust.
I'll get some water wings, and we'll be good. It'll be awesome. I love it, dude. Do me a favor.
Brother.
Send me a picture of you holding a giant. If you have that one from your Palm Pilot, send that because I'll use it as the cover artwork for this episode.
Compared to the pictures that I could send you now,
it's so pixelated.
Doesn't do it justice. I didn't hold it out either, but
yeah,
I'll send it to you and you can use it. And
if you have any others, if you have any others that you think are that you'd rather use, go ahead and send those too, and I'll put something good together.
Does it have to be me holding a fish, or could it be me holding my pecker? I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, honestly, the podcasting is the Wild West, so I would say anything goes.
Well, you couldn't see my pecker, so we're good. I'll probably send the fish.
Perfect. I love that, man.
And you only did one sound effect the whole time. What the hell's up with that?
No. I got a couple in there. In there. Yeah.
Okay.
I got a few of them in there. I got a couple of rim shots. I got some applause. A couple of things. Yeah, we're good, man. Sounds good, dude. Well, thank you so much,
brother.
man. I appreciate it. You have a good one, all right? Alrighty, guys, that about does it for this week's episode of Jigs and Bigs. It's been a good one. The festivities here at the end of the Trifecta tournament at the party, they're starting to pick up. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up pretty quickly, everyone. A couple of things that we want to mention. First off, again, another huge shout out to not just Cheryl, the blogger, putting together our fishing report regularly, but also our contributors, our jig heads, for giving some information as to what they're experiencing out on the water and basically giving her the content to organize and put together. So
Cheryl's been doing some heavy lifting over the past 3 weeks because besides myself being gone, Nelson's been gone.
That's true,
we've been trying to focus on the Western Mass ends of the fishing report and local stuff to us, but Nelson's been gone, I've been gone, Tim Jacks was gone, Ryan Bogley is in the hotel industry. While he's been here physically, mentally he's been gone.
Yeah.
We've
and he's planning. You know, Ryan's planning a wedding.
Yes, he is.
He is.
He may or may not have enlisted the #1 DJ in all of Kirkplakistan.
And it's true. The #1. That's impressive.
Yes,
that's good. Quite the accolade.
Yes.
Quite the accolade. I freaking love it. And then, of course, guys, we have merch over at jigsandbigs.com. Heads up that stickers, Jigs and Bigs stickers are available on that store now. So if you haven't gotten a sticker, you'd like to get one, you can purchase them there. And we're including a sticker with purchases over, $25. $25. You purchase anything over $25, we'll include a free sticker for you. Just a way that we can kind of say thank you. And again, you guys are absolutely awesome. We have some merch ideas that are coming soon. This summer has been insane. All this stuff is going to happen, but we promise you there is one thing that is absolutely, without the shadow of a doubt, like for sure, You guys haven't seen anything yet. We have major stuff happening with this podcast. This winter is going to be huge for a lot of ways. We're going to launch a lot of brand new, interesting stuff. So the party's getting started here, guys, getting a little bit loud. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We will see you guys in 7 days. Get out there and catch some fish. Have yourselves a great one. Wear your frickin' PFD. And remember, a 50-yard minimum around other boaters. Give them some space, especially if you see a line in the water. And let people know. Communicate. Have a great one, everybody. We'll see you guys in a week from now. Tight line.